Meeting to order. We have roll call, please.
Councilmember Silva.
Present.
Councilmember Garcia.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Gardenis.
Present.
Mayor Jackson.
Here.
Councilmember Villegas Walker is absent.
We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Garcia, and Gardenis will lead us in prayer.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You guys join me in prayer. Father God, thank you again for this day you've created, Lord. We're just grateful that we can come here this evening, Lord. We just ask that you be with our community, Lord. You ask to be with our citizens. You ask to be with our staff, Lord, as we conduct business here, Lord. We just do this in your name. Amen. Amen.
At this time, we'll have our report from closed session from our city attorney.
Mr. Mayor and Council, on the anticipated litigation items, there's no reportable action. The labor negotiations item was removed because it wasn't needed. And regarding the negotiations for real property, staff has been instructed by the council to proceed with negotiations.
All right. Thank you. Okay, next we have presentations and announcements by the mayor. We have certificate presentations for Southwest High School, and it's the HOSA chapter students. And are all four of them here today? We have three. Do you guys want to come up, and one of you guys want to tell us all about, you guys went to Tennessee and came back as our national champions with your presentation and project? Now's not the time to be shy, guys. Yeah. You already won. Come up here to the dais, and
Nice.
And all three of you guys can speak. Nice to meet you.
How you doing? Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Probably speaking, go right over here to the back of the podium, and that way everybody can hear. I know it's kind of hard because you speak away from everybody. Yeah, that's being great.
Yeah, all right.
That works too.
You're the first person to do that. It's not, you know,
I never talked to
it's
them
kind
or
of smart
not.
thing to do that.
You know what?
Okay, so I'm Iris Valadez, and
I'm Sabrina Herbert.
hi, I'm Sarah Rodriguez. So together, we kind of all got together, and since when we start, like September, we've done over many things: Purple and Gold in the Park, Water Wednesdays, a whole bunch of activities just to get our community together, and it definitely it paid off, all the work that we've done, and it reached out to not only our generation kind of age group, but the younger children. And they definitely enjoyed it, and it paid off when we went to state in Tennessee, and Sabrina will tell you about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So at State, using all the projects that we did here to promote oral health, we did like a portfolio showing all of our work, and we presented everything to a judge, in which in that competition we placed 8th in the state, and because of our hard work, the America's Tooth Fairy invited us to conduct a presentation in Nashville. So we conducted like a small presentation about the size of this room. And there we were also awarded a $250 scholarship for each of us.
And was that part of a competition too against other presentations, or how was that?
Oh no, that was just, they just invited us to present.
For the scholarship?
Yeah,
Okay.
but we didn't know we were going to get a scholarship there. All that we knew that we were going to give a presentation, a workshop to students. So that was a total surprise for us, the scholarship.
And HOSA stands for?
Health Occupation Students America.
Okay. And are we missing one today?
Yes.
Yes, Caroline Vasquez.
Okay, all right. All in unison and everything. Questions from council?
Not a question, but congratulations. We sometimes I think we, as the community, sometimes underestimates our youth, but we keep seeing our youth
excelling at tremendous levels. We've had state champions, national champions, and it's a testament to our schools, it's a testament to your parents. A couple of names I recognize. Are you related to Mr. Herbert in the back?
Yes, that's my dad.
That is your dad. So, testament to your parents, to your father, for what you have done. You make us proud. One of these days, young people your age will be sitting on this side of the podium. So I think I see the potential for some of you guys to be here. Although it seems to me that you're probably inclined towards health occupations.
Yeah.
What specifically do you want to do at this point?
Nursing
I want to be a physical therapist.
and nursing as well.
Awesome. So congratulations. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just congratulations. I believe there's some Southwest staff also here. Are you a member of Southwest staff? Would you like to introduce yourself, ma'am, or no? Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Jackie Valadez, and I'm the advisor for the Southwest chapter of HOSA Future Health Professionals. And this project was a national project with an organization called America's Tooth Fairy. It's a National Children's Oral Health Foundation. And our chapter was awarded a $3,000 grant at the beginning of the year to implement the activities. So we were the only chapter nationwide to receive those funds to support the project. So it's a nationally recognized achievement that the students did. So, thank you.
And I see the resemblance as well as the last name between you two.
Well, it's by marriage, so,
Okay.
but
All right,
we'll
good.
take it, huh?
Yeah. No, I just want to say congratulations, and as an advisor, you play an instrumental role in that process too. And again, we're very, very proud when you represent the city of El Centro, especially being here today. So congratulations, and if there's anything we can do to help, please let us know. Congratulations to you too, Chief, on your daughter, and to all the parents in the audience. Congratulations.
I'm sorry, I see someone that I haven't seen before, so I'm assuming Marilena is your mom. Yes? Congratulations to you as well, Nina.
The one thing that the community can do is take an active role in supporting career technical education at the high school level, and many of the businesses in El Centro and the Imperial Valley do by hosting our students in externship or job shadowing opportunities. So if any of the businesses here in El Centro want to do that, they can always get in touch with us at Southwest High School or CTE Career Technical Education Department. Thank you.
Garcia?
Congratulations for all your hard work and definitely takes a lot of work and dedication to. On top of your, I'm sure, busy high school schedule, it's good that you.
Thank you.
I'll just finish. I love seeing our youth. I think this council especially has gone out of our way to recognize youth in our community that have done extraordinary things, whether that be academically or athletically. But I think we're so fortunate that we've had, in this last year or two, so many of our high school students just really excel in mock trial and athletics. And here we have another example of and I agree, I think we've got some extraordinary teachers that are helping groom our students. And yeah, if the whole healthcare thing doesn't work out, then you guys can come up here and run a city. But we'd like to present you guys with some plaques and have the council join us, and we'll have a photo. I think our photographer's back there. One's not here. Carolyn. So, Jackie. I know the advisor is going to take photos, but I'd like to have him on the phone. Okay. This one's easy. I don't know. It's there. Okay.
Thank you.
Wait, one more.
Don't crop me out.
I guess we could have given that one to the advisor. Okay, now we have our scheduled public comments. We have our monthly comments and report from our Chamber President, Mr. Les Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Jackson and other council members. It's a pleasure to be back here again after a year off as president of the Chamber, and looking forward to another year. There's a number of things going on with the Chamber right now. I'd like to bring you up to date. We're hosting a new event this year in September through the El Centro Chamber Foundation, and it's called Imperial Valley Girls Rock. And it will be a dinner and awards presentation Thursday, September 8th at the Imperial Palms. And the purpose of the award is to honor Imperial Valley girls beginning from age 5 all the way through even seniors who strive towards the highest levels of personal and professional accomplishments and devote time and energy to their community in a meaningful way to serve as role models for the others. It is the desire of the El Centro Chamber Foundation to develop and maintain leaders in the Imperial Valley. We offer this award as an opportunity to reward and recognize the efforts and contributions of these individual girls who really stand out in the valley. We're in the process of taking nominations for 6 different categories. The city, if they haven't yet, will shortly be receiving sponsorship opportunities. We would ask you to, help us out if you can and be part of it. And the proceeds from this then will be used to provide high school and college scholarships for students here in the Imperial Valley, not just El Centro, but a valley-wide program. So we look forward to this starting off successfully our first year, and hopefully it'll grow into something that'll be bigger and better as time goes on. So I, as president of the Chamber, I've been asked to join the homeless task force. And I don't know, I haven't run across very many people that are totally up to speed with what's happening with the homeless task force, so I'd like to just take a second if I could. There's a fellow by the name of Ken Woods who has been given to the Catholic Charities in San Diego from the Price Philanthropies, and that's the original owners of Price Club. And they funded Ken Woods to be to head up special projects and coordinate the Imperial Valley Homeless Coalition, along with creating a continuum of care, which brings all the agencies in the valley together to deal not just with the homeless issues, but a broad array of other issues, domestic violence and health care for the unfortunate and that sort of thing. And as everyone knows, I'm sure the homeless task force has been around for a good number of years, but it's kind of stalled, and so we're working very, very hard to get it on track and going again. I was asked to go to a meeting once a month, and I've only been to one monthly meeting. The next monthly meeting is next week, and I've already had 3 other meetings. So, but we're working very hard to get it better organized and get players from the valley and the community on board and going. An example of some of the lack of communications has been happening is we had a special meeting last week because it's very critical to get everything completed paperwork-wise for some HUD funding coming up in mid-August, and everyone was sitting around the table, and there's 40 people that come to these meetings and from the different agencies and charities from the community, and but nobody knows who the players are. Nobody knows what the others are willing to or able to provide. And I don't mean to be critical or negative in saying that. It's just that we got to get everybody up to speed and educated. An example of that was Women Haven speaking to the specific needs of their organization for helping women from domestic violence issues, and oftentimes having families to help, but their grant money won't allow that. And they were very surprised to hear from social services sitting at the table that day to say, well, gee, nobody calls us. We have all kinds of money to immediately place homeless families in the Imperial Valley. So one of our goals right away is to bring everybody together, educate the group as to what everybody has to offer, and then reach out to the business and residential communities of the valley to educate them as to what's available to help with all of the issues out there. So hopefully it'll come together and start strengthening and grow. The El Centro Annual Co-op Mixer will be August 18th at Desert Trails. That is a mixer for our members that are too small to have a facility large enough to host a mixer, and it's usually a very well-attended event. And then lastly, I would just close with extending that. I know that Mayor Jackson and Mayor Pro Tem Cardenas have been to the couple of the last chamber board meetings and given very good presentations on behalf of the city to get support for the sales tax and the TOT tax initiative on the ballot coming up. And the chamber would like to extend the invitation to the city that we would be more than happy to help host or coordinate, co-sponsor, whatever verbiage you want to use, some type of a town hall meeting, and we would welcome you to help coordinate that, and we would offer the venue at Desert Trails to have enough room for well over 200 people. And our recommendation would be to try and do that sometime in September.
Yeah, excellent. Absolutely, and I appreciate the offer. I think you and I spoke about that the other day, and I very much am looking forward to that. I think we can coordinate that. I agree September is a good time when everybody's back from vacations and get settled back into school and back into the routine. So the committee will contact you, and we'll get together, and we'll definitely do that.
Okay,
And
good.
I think part of the plan is to have several town hall style meetings around town at different venues, just to try to get the word out and educate the community on what the sales tax and the TOT tax represents to the future of the city. So.
Okay. And one, I'm sorry, I said that was my last thing in closing, but one other brief thing. I have a meeting Friday in Mexicali with the State of Baja Secretary of Tourism. And so we will be coordinating through the consulate, the Secretary of Tourism for the state of Baja, as well as Cotuco, which is the tourism agency for the city of Mexicali. But we're going to be preparing to put together some tours and different sporting events and different offerings. And we're exploring how we can, obviously crossing the border can be one of the biggest handicaps. So we're actually working, trying to see if we can somehow figure out an arrangement to conveniently get buses back and forth, so.
Okay. Perfect. I know in last year, we participated in a couple of Solus games, the basketball game, or the pro basketball team in Mexicali, and they are willing to coordinate some kind of buses to get people from across the border
Yeah,
to
as
the
is the
venue
baseball
and back.
team and everybody, so, yeah.
So we maybe take advantage of that.
Okay.
Any comments or
No,
questions?
I just wanted to briefly say I really appreciate the opportunity on the town hall. They're offering the venue for the potential town hall meeting. So I do appreciate your leadership on that, Mr. Smith, and then also want to welcome you back to our council.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to echo that. I think it's good to have you back, Les, at the chamber. I know that it already, I can see the direction that you're taking this, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate your comment in reference to the homeless task force. And I know with your energy and initiative, you're going to get that task force up and moving again. I think it has been stagnant for a little bit, but it just needs a little bit of energy to get it moving. Because that's a huge problem that we all hear about, from our citizens and the complaints and issues related to homelessness, and hopefully, something productive will come out of that. Do I infer from your offering on hosting a town hall measure that the chamber is leaning towards making either a endorsement or some kind of formal action in regards to the measure? Where are we at with that?
Well, I think we're making headway with that. Alex was at the meeting the other day, and there was some, there's a lot of comments, and, I'll be perfectly honest with you, and I shared this with Mayor Jackson with our conversation, that people feel like they're hearing mixed signals because the media is not necessarily telling the same story that the city council is telling to the community. And so I think we really need to reach out to the media to quantify and qualify, exactly what's happening and where the possibilities for the funding are and what they can be utilized for.
Yeah, thank you. And we had tentatively scheduled, I had tentatively scheduled a meeting for Friday with the council as well, and not Cotuco, but the arts organization in Mexicali, because I'm expecting an MOU to come to the council in September, formalizing a three-way relationship between the city, the Arts Council, and the consulate. So I don't know if it's going to be this Friday because it's been tentative, but whenever we schedule that, I'll call you so that you can also join us.
Thank you. I would be more than happy to join in and be part of that because I think if there's obviously strength in numbers.
Right, of course.
Anything else? Sergio?
Looking forward to a good year working with the chamber. Obviously, you've done a great job in the past, and we have the utmost confidence. I'm glad to have you back.
Thank you.
Les, we'll look
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing it, and we'll talk about the town hall.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have our consent agenda. These are items approved by one motion. Council members or members of the
Mayor
public may...
Jackson?
Did I miss something?
Yes.
What'd I miss?
Item number 3.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have known there's all this stuff. I'm sorry, Carrie. Yeah. Didn't do it on purpose. Okay. Item number 3. That's why there's staff to keep me in line and when I screw up. Presentation by Mr. Tom Daly, CRA Lighting Sales Incorporated, regarding Main Street lighting options. Mr. Daly?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Pro Tem Mayor, esteemed council members. Thanks so much for the time, the opportunity to share a brief discussion on what we can do as a lighting agency, a lighting support business for your community to make the shining city of El Centro shine even brighter. I don't know if I'm going to give away my age, but one of the things that motivates me is from a very young age, I remember a commercial on the television that, black and white even, there was an Indian on the side of the road and a car drove by and threw a bag of trash out at his feet. And there was a tear in his eye. And that's the type of thing that's motivated me through Boy Scouting and through all the things I've done through the years to, pick up trash when it needs to be picked up, or, now our passion really is energy savings and education of LED lighting to folks that really can make a difference to their overall experience with their budgets and their environment. Better human-centric lighting can bring great changes to health and the psychology of people and spaces, but also beautification projects like your downtown city. We have many choices and solutions, and I want to be more than a person that's trying to get your business through a sale. I detest that concept of being the consummate sales guy. I pride myself on teaching and educating, bringing choices to cities so they can make the best choices available that suit them and meet their tastes and preferences and their goals. So that's really what I want to leave with you today. But I did give a bio of our company to tell you who we are and what we're about. I also gave you a short list of some nice municipal projects that we've done for parks and recreations, for city government buildings, for many municipalities in Southern California, primarily San Diego County. We're headquartered out of San Diego. But I brought a guest. They flew down from the state of Washington. What we do with lighting, it's once we leave the incumbent light sources and we transfer over into LED technology, that's a huge shift in cost and energy reductions and cost benefits. But moreover, more than that, we can now control at a granular level with data acquisition and monitoring and metering and revenue grade metering to where we can identify what we're doing with our assets and how we're, what kind of money and budgets go towards that asset, whether it be a ornamental lighting pole, whether it be a street light. So what I brought here is what would normally be cast iron or concrete, that polyurethane or elastomeric urethane composite base that I can lift with one hand, where it would take 2 individuals to carry something that would be cast iron. Very heavy. If a car hit it, it's going to crack. It's just passé. We've advanced to more greener, sustainable solutions, and this technology is just one of them. So I've shared with you our little bio, a little product brochure on Watley ornamental outdoor poles. Brought a prop here, but now I'm going to yield a little bit of time to my guests to talk about asset management and information, and I thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Rob Leonard.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and council members, thanks for the opportunity. I'm going to talk very, very briefly about Echelon. We're partnered with CRI Lighting and Tom's Outfit. They are our local representation. We're a 27-year-old company out of the Silicon Valley. We're in just north of here. And we provide municipality level street lighting control systems, adaptive lighting controls and asset management systems. In today's environment where municipalities are making the choice to move to modern LED lighting, there's a great opportunity to add adaptive controls and push energy savings, but also enhance public safety. We can bring other features, and we'd love the opportunity to be able to develop a project and show you a little bit more about what we can do as you step into to more modern lighting and consider LEDs. They ought to be controlled in our view, and the assets can be managed and monitored and really show off to the world what you can do with energy savings. Traditional lighting design is done to the maximum need, which is typically rush hour kind of levels. But the old light sources we turn on and leave them on until sunrise. But today we can do so much more. So move to LEDs, I think, is almost a foregone conclusion. Those investments make sense. Take it a step further and please consider adaptive lighting controls, and we'd love to be a partner. So please work with Tom and we'll be available. This is my territory, and we'd love the opportunity to talk to the city some more. Thank you.
Thank you.
A couple follow-up questions.
Yeah, questions for either one? Or?
Yeah, I went ahead and looked on your website a couple days ago, and I was kind of looking at the smart street lighting. And it's pretty interesting to see the technology involved in that in terms of, from an asset management, and how that works. I mean, can you share a little bit about how smart street lighting works?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, this is a live view of the city of Bellingham, Washington. The reason that we still have access to it, I brought my field applications engineer, Gordon Grice, who's working to commission this site currently. So they'll take the keys to the castle away here shortly. But this is a live view of all of the assets which is 3,600 streetlights, about 440 of which are decorative, so they are historical fixtures. Echelon embeds our control nodes inside the fixtures to be able to monitor the power, the quality of the power, so we can tell when an asset is misbehaving or is off, which could indicate copper theft, could indicate a knockdown. These are the realities of running traffic signals in street lighting. And so we used to rely on constituents and residents to call and say that there's a problem, or rely on public safety assets to report back. But more often than not, we have night patrols. And so I'd be interested to hear how your city manages those kinds of maintenance. But now you can see on a screen, the software tells you what's going on. So that's one aspect of asset management. The other is energy management. So we allow you to track all of the attributes of a pole. So from your GIS system, we incorporate all of that. So we can tell you if it's a concrete pole with what armature and the incumbent wattage. So say you went from a high pressure sodium to LED, there's a savings there. We track that over long periods of time. We also track what the adaptive lighting controls do and give you a dashboard view, single fixture, neighborhood, or your entire city. So, yeah.
And I guess the follow-up question also is the incorporation of solar technology. And I'm not a content expert in this at all, but It was really interesting to read. And can you tell us a little bit about how solar technology is involved in lighting and municipal lighting?
Sure. Well, Tom represents some of that. I'll probably defer to him since those are his lines. I will say that one other thing I'd like to leave you with is beacons. So school beacons and crosswalk flashers and things like that can also be pulled into these same systems. Often cities signal fall under the same asset management as traffic signal and street lights. And all of that can be managed and scheduled. Those can be very, very expensive systems to maintain, and we'd like to show you how we do that as well. But do you want to answer the solar question?
Sure, absolutely. Okay. The integration of solar with lighting makes sense when you have a need to put a lighting pole in a remote area where it would cost a lot of money to trench and run a feeder of a large piece of copper to carry the distance and bring the current to the load. Wherever there's power available, typically you wouldn't want to integrate solar because you have access to that circuit or that power. And with controls and with LED loads being so small, the impact on the cost or energy would not negate the investment of the solar investment, package investment. I'm not an expert in solar technology, but I've learned a lot about it because I feel in the future I'm going to want to incorporate leading technologies in solar into our solution-based offering. Today, PV is not where I want to be. PV has a photovoltaic technology, has a 17 to 22% efficiency rating, and it probably doesn't have a bright future in getting more efficient unless there's a big technology breakthrough. Also, flat panels can't track the sun and grab the apex of the color spectrum, which is the best angle that the sun can be at to hit a PV panel, and that's only 3 minutes during the day. So there's a lot of losses. If you can make up for the loss of heat and capture heat and energy along with the PV or the solar, then you're in a great position to grab everything you can that the sun can offer. That future's not quite here yet, but it should be coming. I'd be careful with PV unless it's driven by a friendly rebate that the government's willing to subsidize. But to really answer your question on solar and lighting integration, we have a product called Sol Lighting, and they're easily available on the website. And it's a pole head solar panel combination. And again, the applications that we see for those are in remote areas where it costs a lot of money to bring power to them. They make a lot of sense when you can dig a hole, set it, and have instant lighting as a result from energy from the sun without paying for it. That's the best solution with solar lighting integration that's out there.
Great. Thank you, sir.
So, any questions? All right. Thank you. Did you have any I see other props or anything else you wanted to?
Well, we brought one small lighting fixture. I mean, it's basically a commodity these days. It's 50 watts and it's a residential grade product, which is a neighborhood it's not going to be your main collector roads. It's not going to be your high conflict zones. But this is a 50-watt unit. You can turn it at an angle and see that, there's some light coming out of that thing. Now, it's designed for high volume, low cost, tight budgets in neighborhood streets. Typically, you're going to see 70% energy savings over what you have for neighborhood streets today. We have a 10-year warranty on the product. It's a Cree technology. They're the new Cinderella story technology Wall Street company. One of the, up there with Google, Apple, Tesla in terms of technology movement with LED diodes for lighting. And it's just moving rapidly is all I can say. We have other versions and iterations of street lighting, and we're more than happy to discuss asset management and how you can reduce or make room on your budget to spend money in other places. But that's only going to work in the future with your relationship with your utility and the fact that you can identify metered areas so you can really know what your savings. Until that happens, this solution, the integration that Echelon brings, is you can provide onboard sub-metering and understand everything about what you're saving from day one, and you don't have to wait for your utility to put a meter on a circuit. So you can take control of your financial destiny with this information.
Great. All right. Well, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Now we'll move to consent item. These are items that are approved by one motion. Council members or members of the public may pull any consent items to be considered separately at a time determined by the mayor. Having no items by council to be pulled, is there a motion to approve items 4 through 8? So motion by Cardenas, second by Silva. Please ballot. Motion passes 4-0 with one absent. Okay, next we'll do item number 9. This is a public hearing. Public hearing to consider the recommendation of the Plan Commission on the Lotus Ranch subdivision project. The Lotus Ranch project proposes subdivision of 213 acres of land in order to create 574 residential lots, 1 park site, 1 school site, and 3 stormwater detention basins at the southwest quadrant of I-8 and LaBrucia Avenue. Environmental Impact Report 12-06 has been prepared pursuant to CEQA. A presentation by Norma Villacania, our Community Development Director.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. The project before you is a project that you probably have heard of before. We've been working on this for about 5 or more years. It was placed on hold for a while, so now the developer wants to complete the project. So this is the Lotus Ranch subdivision. And it's a significantly large project. It consists of about 213 acres of land, which the project proposes to develop 574 residential single-family lots, which also consist of 1 park site, 1 school site, and 3 stormwater detention basins. So in order to move forward with the project, there are certain entitlements that need to be approved, and we're here before you for some of those entitlements, which would be the certification of the environmental document, the change of zone, which would be a pre-zone, approval of the tentative subdivision map, and then the project will go to LAFCO for annexation. Just to give you a brief overview of the location, it's just southwest corner of LaBrucherie and Interstate 8. Right now it's used as agriculture land, and it's actually 2 parcels. The surrounding land uses is north is Interstate 8 and also Southwest High School. To the east, you have Farmers Estates residents and also additional agriculture land. To the south, you have a hay storage followed by El Toro export. And then to the west, you also have agriculture land. This is just a brief overview of the phasing map. Since there's going to be over 500 units, the developer has phased the project, and these are the phases that are being proposed. The first phase would be approximately 250 units. second phase 116th, and the last phase would be 211 units. I did forget to mention that there is a school site being proposed within the development. The developer has met with the McCabe School District and has been working on, this is a site that the school district chose for the proposed school site to be located. Also, you see that you have a 10-acre park, which is sort of in the middle of the development. Before I move forward, I would like to have Marcus Bush from Rick Engineering come and explain and give you a presentation on the environmental review document, which is it's before you.
Are you going to set it up?
Yes, I'll set it.
All right. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council, City staff. My name is Marcus Bush, and I'm a community planner with Rick Engineering, and here to report that the environmental impact report, it is complete. It is compliant with the California Environmental Quality Act, otherwise known as CEQA, and we do recommend certification and adoption of the document. And let me see if this works good. Okay, so I don't want to go over too much what Norma already presented, but as far as the EIR process, the final EIR was completed in 2007. The project was not approved and did not go through the process for the public hearing. City Council, oh, yes.
Excuse me one moment. I want to, in consulting with our city attorney, I believe I possibly have a conflict in the fact that I reside in Farmers Estates. So I'm going to leave council, turn over this part of the meeting over to my pro tem to conduct this part of the meeting.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, sir. Sure. All right. Thank you. And so the final EIR did not go through the process, and the reason why was that was during the Great Recession, so the project itself was put on hold. That project back then was actually a bigger project, so it consisted of 658 units, one 6.7 acre park, and the building footprint was the same. But now that the economy's turned around, the project was revived in 2014. A lot of the environmental issues back then, the technical analyses that were done still remain the same. So, for example, geology, the soils, hydrology, all those issues still are basically the same. Faults don't change in 10 years. So the issues that did change, it includes the traffic studies needed to be updated, the biological resources, particularly the burrowing owl, that needed an additional study. And I'm going to go over in detail what the conclusion of those studies. And to kick off the CEQA process was the Notice of Preparation Public Scoping meeting that was held January in 2015. And so, again, a project description, don't want to spend too much on it, but just to clarify, the project applicant proposed 609 units, and that was without the school site. As part of the CEQA process, we're looking at environmentally improved alternatives. So that one, the city staff is recommending is the school site alternative. So that would reduce the project by 35 units, and it would be 574 single-family units total, with the school site of 8 acres. Includes infrastructure improvements, so road, water, sewer, and 16.5 acres worth of stormwater detention basins. That's on the western portion of the site as well as the northern part, and that would also double as passive open space. And feel free, if any of you staff or council have any questions, feel free to stop me. And that's a tentative subdivision map, and Norma already went over that. Public review process, the CEQA process was kicked off officially with the Notice of Preparation. That was January 21st, 2015. That was a public meeting. The public requested, and there was a couple of different agencies and business in particular requested a new noise study be conducted. And so we retained the original noise study that was done and completed in 2005, the technical analysis. We did an addendum to that. They requested some additional conditions be analyzed, and so we did take a look at that. That was all put together, all the issues, and included as part of the draft EIR, which went out October 27th, 2015, and we did receive comments from 9 different public agencies and responded to all those comments in the EIR. And now at this point, we're in the final EIR hearing. So just wanted to go over the major issues, that the environmental issues that came out of this EIR. So it includes agricultural resources, biology, which is mainly the burrowing owl, greenhouse gas emissions, transportation traffic, and noise. So going on to the agricultural resources, what the state and CEQA really looks at when you're talking about an agricultural impact is mainly the soils, and there's 2 classifications of soils. It's prime soils and soils of statewide importance. Both of those are located on the site. However, we came to the conclusion that it was a less than significant impact after mitigation because the county general plan actually had this land zoned, and you can see here, in red, you could see that the red marking is the project boundary, and yellow is the urban area. So the county of Imperial actually had planned this area expected that this would be urban land. So the county did not identify this as a significant resource. This area is in the sphere of influence, the LAFCO sphere of influence. So this land was always zoned. Eventually, it was with the expectation that the ag land would go into urban development at some point. So, and in terms of the impacts that the project has with surrounding agriculture, we did take a look at that. There are potential land use conflicts, including El Toro export to the south. That's heavy ag, cattle feed, and hay storage. Field crops to the east and west. And those were addressed through the mitigation measures that were identified. So part of that was the design and layout of the site that's used to mitigate some of those impacts. So in the layout of the site, the developer placed the detention basins on the western portion that'll help serve as a buffer to some of the ag lands adjacent to it. A 6-foot barrier fence to the south, and that's, again, to help mitigate those impacts to the El Toro hay storage. An ordinance banning fireworks, and that's due to the close proximity to the hay storage, and so that's being recommended. And then finally, the right to farm ordinance, and that's an ordinance that notifies future residents that this is ag land and this is a county that is dependent on agriculture economically, and so it advises residents that they should expect some of these impacts, whether it's odor, whether it's transportation from traffic from the vehicles from agriculture, the tractors, and so on. And so after that,
Can I ask
yes.
a question on the mitigation, the 6-foot fence along the south? What kind of fence will mitigate that? Is it a solid fence, chain link fence?
No. So the 6-foot barrier, the mitigation doesn't specify that it has to be concrete, but it cannot be an empty fence. And I don't know if yes.
Yes, it would be a block wall. It would be a block wall, and part of the, after the Planning Commission, there were comments regarding, from El Toro, actually wanting a higher wall for a buffer. So we went back with the developer and worked out where there's going to be a block wall, and then there's going to be a 2-foot extension to the block wall. And we've seen photos or images of this is done common. It's aesthetically pleasing, so it's something. So it's going to be an 8-foot barrier wall, basically.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Norma. All right, moving on. So after these issues, the wall, the layout of the site, the ordinance, it's a less than significant impact to agricultural resources. Moving on to biological resources, this is the burrowing owl. It was the same issue back in 2007, except the locations of the burrowing owl, there's new locations, and those are, instead of the center portion of the site, it's to the south. And the mitigation mitigation for that, since they're a sensitive species, is during construction, 14 days prior, the developer has to make sure that the burrowing owls aren't in their burrows. If they are, then there's a process that they have to go to with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife that basically is catch and release, but it's following the strict guidelines. That's if they are present. And if they're not present in those burrows, then those burrows have to basically be closed so they can't re-enter. So once that's completed, it is a less than significant impact after mitigation. As far as greenhouse gas emissions goes, this is a new section of the environmental impact report. When the initial EIR was completed in 2007, GHG emissions was not part of the CEQA issue, so this came about from state legislation. And so Recon did do our technical analysis. They were a subconsultant. That's their technical report is Appendix C of the EIR. The GHG threshold for this site is 29% reduction in what's called a business as usual emissions for GHG. Excuse me, 28.3%. That was the requirement. Based on the project's design, based on its mitigation measures, it will result in a 29% reduction. And so that means it exceeds the required threshold for greenhouse gas emission reduction. So no further mitigation is needed, and the GHG emissions, there will not be a significant impact. So it's good on GHG emissions. As far as noise goes, both the County Ag Commission and El Toro Export requested an updated noise study. That noise addendum was completed in 2015. The noise levels were measured from La Boucherie, from the southern central portion of the site. It did not detect significant noise from the El Toro hay storage facility immediately south. What it did detect was noise from La Boucherie. And so as a result of that traffic noise and potential impacts from increased vehicle trips, the mitigation includes during the construction phase that equipment be that the construction equipment have mufflers, noticing to adjacent residences for the noise, and then most importantly, noise barriers and walls to the north of the site. That's where the I-8 is, and then along La Boucherie, so the eastern portion of the site. So after those mitigation measures are in place, especially the noise barriers, it's a less than significant impact. Transportation and traffic, based on the technical report, this project, once completed, is expected to generate 6,192 average daily trips. It will be significant impact to traffic. Delays would be expected at the corner of La Boucherie and Wake Avenue. That would also cause increased need for public transit, cumulative impacts to the area that would generate traffic. And so the mitigation for that is the developer is responsible for signalizing La Boucherie and Wake Avenue intersection, coordinating with the Imperial County Transportation Commission to establish a bus stop, and contribute a fair share towards improvements throughout the site. So those improvements include road widening, it includes sidewalks in different sections, painted lanes, and then finally dedicated turn lanes. So once all of those mitigation measures are completed, all those road improvements, there will be a less than significant impact once these mitigation measures are in place.
In reference to the signalization at La Boucherie and Wake, is that going to be done during future phases or at the beginning of the project? What would kick in the actual mitigation of that impact?
Let me check what phase of the project that would be.
Phase two.
Okay, phase 2.
after 222 units.
Okay, so after 220 units, that's when those improvements would be needed.
At the completion of the 222 units?
Yes. Okay, any other questions on transportation, traffic?
I do have a question in terms of, you talked about a noise mitigation on the freeway on the east side, and you talked about a wall. How high is that wall going to be? Has that been determined?
I don't believe that it, yeah.
Basically, what's going to happen is there's going to have to be a study done to see what type of wall is required to bring the noise level down. So it depends on, along the freeway, it might be a thicker, higher wall, and along LaBoucherie. So the developer will have to do a study to indicate what kind of wall will reduce the noise level to something, to what's required within our ordinance.
As I recall, the wall along Farmers Estates on the freeway, that's like an 8-foot wall or a 9-foot wall.
It's pretty high.
It's pretty
So
high.
most likely this development will require the same wall. However, we do require that basically a study be conducted to determine the type of wall and the height of the wall.
And I don't recall seeing graffiti on the farmer's wall.
It's becoming,
Is it
it's
becoming
becoming an issue.
Is it? Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, and then that also leads us to the school site alternative. So part of what the school site alternative is expected to do is reduce traffic and reduce vehicle trips, and that's because whereas the families that are living in these residents, these 574, 609 units would otherwise have to travel outside for school. Now they don't have to necessarily drive a car. They could walk, they could bike, and so it is expected to reduce traffic impacts. So the school site alternative, the project site, it would be located on the southern portion of the project site. It would be the entire project site is part of the McCabe Union Elementary School District. The school district did request this alternative. The school site would require 720 students capacity, includes your typical facilities in the school, so library, classroom buildings, admin facilities, playground area, very standard hours of operation, 6:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. And the 8-acre school site would reduce the total amount of dwelling units by 35 to 574. And so that is the city's preferred alternative. And next steps.
Can you go back?
Oh, yeah,
go
sure.
Back one. So what's the other alternative? This is an alternative to what?
So the applicant proposed 609 units and without the school site. So this alternative would reduce it. So that's what you have before you.
But what's the other alternative? To pay school impact fees and develop the lots?
No, basically, this is a under CEQA, we have different alternatives.
Right.
This is a preferred alternative. The other alternative would be if the McCabe School District decides that there's no need to place a school on this site, then they could develop those extra 35 lots. So there's also that option that the developer has in case the school project doesn't happen.
And McCabe hasn't made a definitive preference?
We have a representative from McCabe,
Okay.
so.
Can you address that?
Yes, at this time, I'm Laura Dumas.
Well, ma'am, if you can maybe come to the podium.
Laura Doobie, Superintendent for the McCabe School District. And yes, we are here today to speak for McCabe, and we do have an intention of moving forward with the school site.
So this also would be your preferred alternative?
Correct.
Okay.
And maybe to piggyback on that, Ms. Doobie, why would that be the preferred alternative, and as opposed to centralizing it and maybe purchasing space and pursuing the school impact fee route, as opposed to actually building the school in the residential area?
The long-term planning that has been in place has always had that school site.
Okay.
A satellite school site. The site that we currently are, we're one school district at this time,
Right.
and we are impacted. We are at capacity. So when you look at the map that's being proposed, we can absorb the first phase, and after that, there is no more room on our school site, at our school site, our current school site.
And Ms. Doobie, in regards to the actual school, is it maybe a K through 6th, or what exactly, what type of school setting it would be?
Yes, correct. That's what we would be looking to do, is have that be an elementary school and consolidate our junior high campus on the existing school site.
Oh, wow. Very interesting.
Thank you. And Norma, what about the high school district? Where are they at?
The high school district did attend a few minutes, but no significant comments were provided by the besides the payment of school fees.
Okay.
But they are aware of the project.
Okay.
So really, that concluded my portion of the report. And so, if there's any final questions for me in terms of the environmental impact analysis, I'm available. But otherwise, I think I'll turn it back over to Norma.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So going back to the project, there are 3 phases being proposed. Now, you see there's over 70, I believe, over 70 conditions of approval. I want to go over some of the significant ones. We did have a good hearing before the Planning Commission where a lot of these things were brought up. So the Planning Commission chose to continue the hearing to allow staff to go back and work with the developer and see if we could come up with something, a compromise on certain conditions. So we did that, and these are the conditions that are being proposed. So the first one was that we're requiring that the cul-de-sacs provide some kind of link to allow connectivity within the development. So we added, the condition number 12 actually says that all interior, there should be pedestrian links adjacent to the cul-de-sacs. And basically, and that's what if you see, I don't have a pointer, but there's those cul-de-sacs that are back to back. Those are the ones that we're requiring that there's some kind of, and this is just an image of a link from another subdivision. So this could be something that's being provided. Okay.
Norma, what triggers that necessity?
Yeah, basically reduction of air quality, basically. And in order to encourage people to walk and not get it, for example, if you want to go to the park, you could easily walk if you can just cut across from the cul-de-sacs rather than get into your car or go to the schools, So that's the idea, to provide connectivity and encourage people to walk more or use their bikes rather than get in the car and drive through the park.
Mayor, if I may, Mayor Pro Tem, this connectivity is pretty much about 30-year-old design. We just never had this opportunity. And it really does allow those neighborhoods to connect much better than being isolated cul-de-sacs. And I think you'll find throughout Southern California, Arizona, and Nevada, they've connected those cul-de-sacs for that reason. And they found it does reduce the amount of car trips. Imagine if you're on one cul-de-sac and your children's friends on the opposite cul-de-sac, you'd have to get in your car to go around, where you can walk between the houses and you connect very directly.
So you would expect, I don't know if that gate is for illustration only, but you would expect that gate, well, first of all, will there be a gate?
Not necessarily.
Okay,
that's a gate that goes to a detention basin.
Oh, it's opening to the right, the detention basin to the left.
Yeah, so it's a gate that goes into a detention basin. In this case, there would not need to be a gate. The only reason the gate's there for the detention basin in case of a storm or something.
So there will be a walkway.
It would be a walkway.
And that walkway, you would anticipate to be paved? there's also no, I'm assuming that there's not going to be any landscaping or shrubbery or those
There's
kind of...
different designs. There's some really fancy links that we've seen. There's some that are just paved, and we don't have any images. So.
We already talked about it
Yeah.
last meeting.
And some of them are just paved, and some of them are paved with landscaping. So the developer will be providing, as part of the final tentative map, the design of those linkages within the cul-de-sacs. And also, Marcus just brought it up to my attention, it's also part of the mitigation measure for air quality, to provide connectivity. And we have other conditions, as you'll be able to see, where it's part of the air quality mitigation.
So that mitigates air quality because less vehicles
Less
will be
vehicles driven,
driving to the park or...
driving through the subdivision or going to the school site. Maybe kids can walk to school instead of being driven to school.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, just for clarification for the public, Ms. Viacano, it's also the lighting landscaping district, that will be part of the maintenance for these pass-throughs?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So another condition would be to require some kind of masonry wall, and we briefly discussed that along main roadways, which would be LaBoucherie Avenue, Wake Avenue, Dannenberg, and Manuel Ortiz to the south. Okay. And then condition 44, this is where the noise wall comes into play. Basically, all those homes adjacent to Interstate 8, the developer is required to provide a noise wall. And under condition 15, the rear of the properties, which would be adjacent to the El Toro location, will be required to have a 6-foot masonry wall with a 2-foot solid vinyl extension. So those are just the highlight of the conditions. And then...
why masonry? Because it's mitigating, what's it mitigating?
Well, masonry would be better for the noise, also for, rather than having, if you have a wood fence, it doesn't last a long time. Masonry would be a block wall or some kind of decorative wall. And then also we're requiring retention basins along the project site, and let me show you. Okay, we'll go through the retentions. Anyway, the retention basins will be along the western property line, and we're requiring that the retention basin that's adjacent to the park will be used also for walking, and there's going to be some improvements required of the development. Then also the condition number 40, the developer shall pipeline and underground any of the bordering canals up to Dannenberg Drive. And in accordance with state law, the developer will be responsible for payment of impact fees. At the Planning Commission stage, the Planning Commission was requesting an example of how much the fees would be, and this is what we provided to the Planning Commission. Also, along condition number 46, there would be a 10-acre park proposed, as you can see it on the diagram, and the park will be adjacent to the detention basins, which could be used as a walkway. Now, some of the conditions are related to traffic. One of the conditions is, of course, a sewer main. A sewer main needs to be extended to the site, and it's going to be completed along Wake Avenue between LaBoucherie and the western boundary. We're currently, the developer and the city, we're working with the developer to come up with a design of the extension of the sewer main. And there's also at the Planning Commission, there was a question about sewer capacity fees, and those were the sewer capacity fees estimated based on each house per household. Moving on with condition 61, 67, as I mentioned before, this is a phased project. So all of the improvements, off-site improvements are going to be phased, such as the traffic signal on Wake and LaBoucherie and turning lanes and other improvements. And then there's also going to be a payment of fair share. And based on the traffic study, these are the fair shares that the developer will be responsible for. Wake Avenue from LaBoucherie Avenue, there's a 36.6% fair share, which Wake Avenue will be extended. Right now, as you know, there's only one lane, so the additional lane will be constructed. Imperial Avenue, there's a fair share. LaBoucherie Avenue and McCabe, there's a fair share for a signal light, and then there's a fair share for a right turn overlap at Imperial and Ocotillo. It goes all the way. And one of the comments we received was that condition number 7, maybe it was recommended that it be revised. Originally, we have that all the major thoroughfares shall consider a shared use pathway. And a shared use pathway is basically a wider sidewalk that will accommodate a bike lane or joggers, and you see them often, like in the Palm Desert area, Palm Springs areas, where you see the wide sidewalks. So we're requesting that that condition be modified to state that the developer shall provide instead of shall consider. And that's the only change that we're proposing at this time. Another request that was brought up by the applicant is that currently, the proposed modification to the zoning map, we're asking that there's been the residential portion be zone R1, low-density residential, which is the yellow, and then the teal would be public use, which would be the park and also the school site and all the detention basins. The applicant has requested that everything remain the same except the school site be zoned residential. And in the event that the school decides to come in, then the change of zone could be completed at the time that the school comes in. And that's been and maybe the applicant can discuss that a little bit more. And these are some of the project renderings that were provided by the developer. And the developer can speak more on the type of homes and the facilities that he's going to provide. So at this time, we're asking to open the public hearing and consider 3 actions: the environmental review, environmental impact report certification, the change of zone, and also the tentative map for the Lotus Ranch project.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Villacania. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this back to council first before I open the public hearing. Councilmember Garcia, do you have any questions? No. And Mr. Silva, any questions?
I do, but I'll wait after the public comments.
Okay. And I'm going to defer my comments as well till after the public hearing. I know that our mayor did recuse himself, but I'm going to go ahead and read this again because I know originally he read it. This is a public hearing to consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission on Lotus Ranch subdivision project. The Lotus Ranch project proposes the subdivision of 213 acres of land in order to create 574 residential lots, 1 park site, 1 school site, and 3 storm drain detention basins at the southwest quadrant of Interstate 8, or I-8, and Labrucherie Avenue. Environmental Impact Report 12-06 has been prepared pursuant to California Environmental Quality Act. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing, and I encourage anyone that has comment related to this item that they come to the podium and address any comments that they may have regarding this project.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. Oliver Alvarado representing the developer and applicant, Mr. Gary McFetridge. Also with us tonight on our project team is Veronica Ortiz from GMAC Development, as well as Carlos Beltran, the project engineer.
Mr. Oliver, could they just raise their hand? I just had a curiosity. I wanted to see who the folks were. I know you mentioned a couple folks,
Right
but all right.
First of all, Honorable Mayor, I'd like to, first of all, get some clarification how we're going to proceed with the hearings. I'm kind of used to opening each hearing separately and then addressing that particular hearing. The first hearing, is my understanding, is the Environmental Impact Report hearing. We would, at this time, recommend or request that the council concur with the recommendation from the Planning Commission to approve the Environmental Impact Report as being adequate and complete.
So let me differ. So we would have to handle each one. I know this is item 9.
I would like to.
Go ahead, Mr. Duran.
The individuals commenting, let's leave that to staff and the attorney who's setting out your protocol of how you're going to handle this. So please continue the comment.
Oh, okay.
Then at the end of your comment, Ms. Viacana can speak to that.
Thank you, Mr. Duran.
The thing is, sometimes it's confusing when you're making motions and everything, and what exactly you're voting on.
But I think I gather from your comment, Oliver, that when we get to the environmental impact report, you have no concerns.
That's
We recommend-
correct.
Okay, so when
That's
we get
correct. That's what we wanted to say on that.
Fine.
The next item would then be the change of zone, which is a pre-zoning request. And we would recommend, as described by Ms. Vicania, that the project site that's at this time reserved, and I want to emphasize it's a reservation of property for the possible school site, at this time be rezoned to R1. The R1 zone is consistent with your general plan. The land use for this project is all low-density residential. R1 zoning is in conformity with that, and we would like that particular property also to reflect the R1 zone. This is the first time, in speaking with Mr. McFetridge, I talked to him about what kind of response that he's received from the school, McCabe School, on the proposal of acquiring the property for school use, and he hasn't heard anything from them up to this point tonight. Mrs. Dubie's here, there's no guarantee that this will result in the development of a school site. Therefore, we would like, rather than having the burden placed on the developer to come back and rezone that to R1, we feel that if that's the case, that the school should be, the onus should be on the school to make that change of zone if necessary. So we would recommend that the approval of the change of zone reflecting the R1 zone for the school site as well.
But Oliver, since we've heard from McCabe, and they've expressed that that would be their preferred mitigation, why wouldn't we want to go ahead and do that now?
Well, again, there's no guarantee, and I don't think Mrs. Dubie can guarantee that there's been no offer made to the developer. There's been no contract, no agreement negotiated that's going to occur. So how we're addressing this is we are reserving that. It's a reservation of land for a possible use. Until we see something more concrete, we think that the R1 zoning which is consistent with the general plan, would be appropriate at this time. And later on, if there's some discussions and negotiations to acquire that, then the appropriate zoning classifications can be sought.
But then we would have to come back and have another public hearing for the rezone.
And if you didn't, Mr. McFetridge would have to come back and have another public hearing to rezone from LU to R1.
Okay.
So again, we feel that in fairness, it would be up to the school district to initiate that rezone if they are interested in acquiring the property. So that would be our recommendation.
I'm going to give Ms. Villacana an opportunity to address that.
I just want to bring up, Mayor Pro Tem, if you could open, since we're talking about the change of zone, if you could open all 3 public hearings at the same time, that would be good.
So, okay, so we'll handle this under one action then, or, okay, so,
We'll walk you through the actions later.
okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing for item number 10 as well, and I'm going to go ahead and read that. This is a public hearing to consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission on pre-zone 05-07. The project proposes a change of zone from County A-2-U, general agricultural to urban, to city R1, single-family residential, and LU limited use for property located at the southwest corner of Interstate 8 and La Boucherie Avenue. So I'm going to go ahead and open that public hearing, as well as I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing for item number 11. And this is a public hearing to consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission on the tentative subdivision map number 16-01 for Lotus Ranch subdivision. So I believe at this time, all public hearings are open, and then we can go ahead and move forward. Thank you, Ms. Villacana.
And Honorable Mayor, that was actually what I was asking when I came up, how we were going to proceed, if you were going to open them all 3 or we're going to go one by one. So my understanding is that all 3 hearings are open. You've received our recommendation on the environmental impact report. We think it's adequate and complete, and recommend that you follow the Plan Commission's recommendation. The change of zone, other than the proposed school site, we think that it would be appropriate to also include that as an R1 classification. I wanted to...
So, Albert, I just want to make sure that I understand something. So, when you're saying that you haven't heard anything concrete from the school site, and I gather from that what value will be placed on that property is the value that it would have to be negotiated as part of the mitigation towards the school fees, correct?
That's correct. The process that's followed normally is an appraisal of the property, and then a value placed on that, negotiations for the acquisition. The value is R1 because it is consistent with the general plan, so we want to maintain that.
So, but if we change the zoning now, when the appraisal goes, do they appraise the property differently? I would assume that they would still appraise it as an R1 property.
I'm not sure about that, whether that's the case or not, whether they would appraise it as R1. But if you have an LU designation, if your LU zone is consistent with your general plan, I imagine that's what it would be appraised at.
I believe it will be appraised for its use, which in this case would be a school site, as opposed for residential use.
Okay.
And would you like to address any of that now, Ms. Villacana, just in regards to what his concerns are in relation to that, and how we could maybe move forward, or what a recommendation? I know that you've already proposed recommendations, but is there any comments that you want to add to that?
After completing the EIR, the environmental review document, basically we recommend the school alternative. And that's what the document is recommending, having a project with a school site. Now, we understand that the school alternative may not happen. Things change. We've had another development in the past where there was a school site designated for that project, and it did not materialize. So the developer came back to the council requesting that site be rezoned to residential because it was zoned for school site, so he could develop those properties.
Okay.
So in this case, that would be the case if the school does not happen.
Right, and so what I'm hearing, I believe, is that in the past, what we have done is follow the recommendations of city staff, what you're recommending now, and in the event that that did not come about, that they would come back. Now, in terms of burden and cost on the developer, how much of that is involved, and how much burden, and from a fiscal impact, what's involved in something like that?
There is a cost. There's going to be a general plan amendment and a change of zone to rezone it back. So that's going to be about $5,000. Depending on when it's completed, I mean, basically that's going to be the main cost because the EIR has already reviewed two scenarios, one with the school and one without the school site.
Okay.
And just the time coming back and entitlement.
And there's going to be a need for second readings on some of these items, or it's going to have to come back to the commission, to the council for...
Zoning ordinance will come back, yes.
Zoning ordinance will come back. So is there time, is it viable for the council to adopt one option and allow the developer time to meet with the school site, and if it's not viable to change it?
Yes.
No?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Council Member, I think if you're going to need more time, that you would continue this item, this hearing, into whatever meetings you needed to have this, because it is posted, and by continuing it, you can have that discussion and then take all your actions at one time. For example, is adopting I'm going to call the non-school alternative impacts your all the others. So once you choose one, you want them all together. You don't want to do this piecemeal. I think by just these comments, whatever they are, continue the public hearing to whatever next meetings, and as long as you need that, then we don't need to repost. Am I correct?
You are correct, and I believe there might be a way to talk about adopting the school alternative with a default zoning option.
Well, with that option being proposed, and I know that McCabe School District's here as well, so this would possibly, we would continue this public hearing. So what are your thoughts in regards, or is there any comments in relations to us possibly discussing this further and pushing this timeline out?
We would prefer a recommendation or an action from the council at this time. This process has taken a long time, as Mrs. Vigenia has noted, 5 years and then another 2 years, and we've gotten to this point. And let me clarify that by rezoning this property to R1 does not take away the possibility of this turning into a school site. Not at all. It's still reserved on the plan as a school site. It's just zoned R1. In most instances in the city, most of your R1 property is where schools are located anyway. So that's not taking it away from it. It's not going to delete that option. We still, we would really like to have that school developed, but we haven't had any assurances in any way, in any form from the school saying that they absolutely, positively want that site. So I think that by zoning it R1, we're not doing away with losing that site as a school site. We're not. It's still going to be shown as R1, but it's going to be shown as a reserved land. That's a reservation, is what it is. A reservation where you reserve for future use, and that's what we're doing here.
And I appreciate your comments. I just wanted to make sure, what Mr. Oliver is saying, is that accurate? No. Okay, can I get a clarification on that, Ms. Betsy?
You have two alternatives. One alternative has this piece as R1. The other alternative has it as a school site. If you adopt the preferred alternative for your EIR, which is a staff recommendation, and the consultant explained it, you need to treat that as a school site. If you don't adopt that preferred alternative, then you could treat it as R1. It could be possible to explore some way in which, if at a certain point the school site was definitively not used, there could be some kind of reversion or default zoning. But that's not something we really could craft tonight. Right. And I don't guarantee that you could do that. It could be explored. It's up to the developer if they want to consider that, and up to you, first of all.
So I guess what I'm hearing, Mr. Oliver, and I want to make sure I have council's maybe potential consensus, well.
There's still a hearing process.
I'm sorry.
So I don't think you can
Sorry.
get to.
Yes, go ahead, continue, sir.
No, again, our recommendation that we maintain that R1 zone. It's consistent with your general plan, and so there would be, and it would still be reserved for those purposes. By identifying it as LU, you've already kind of established a land use that could or could not happen. The R1 could happen, and possibly also the school. Again, schools are allowed in your R1 zone. There's nothing to preclude a school from being developed in that particular, unless that's changed. My understanding is that's, schools are allowed in your R1 zone. So we'd prefer that to maintain R1. Any other questions on that?
No.
Again, that's our recommendation.
Any other comments from council? No. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. As this project, as alluded to, we've been working on this for a long time. And it's really a straightforward project if you look at it. It's in your land use designation of low density residential, which equates to a zoning of R1, single family residential, which most of that is, except for the public lands that you have proposed for LU, which is your detention basins and your park site. So this would just require besides the environmental impact report being approved, your zoning being approved, your pre-zoning being approved, and then your tentative map being approved, and then, of course, the annexation that would follow. But this, to us, is a straightforward project. There are a couple of nuances with it, however, and one of them is you will be talking about under item 16, which is the relocation of your lift station, and that's to accommodate the interchange construction. So this relocation would occur on the developer's property, the northwest corner, and that's been negotiated with the city, and that's fine. We're just somewhat concerned that the timing of that doesn't impede the development. We just want to make sure of that, that we can coordinate that in such a way where we can proceed without having to wait, because there has been some delays on this, and we understand when you're working with Caltrans and agencies like that, there's all the times there's certain delays. So we want to make sure that we've been in discussion with your engineering department, your city staff, and if we've had some, although not solid guarantees, that some consensus that if in fact the lift station wasn't in place by the time the developer was ready to proceed, that there would be some alternative designs that we could impose or develop that would allow the developer to continue. So that's, we appreciate that.
So what would satisfy that? Because is there something in writing already in the
Not a condition.
conditions? Or what?
There's no condition on that.
No, there's no condition. I'm just pointing out that this is something that's tied into this project. But no, there's, other than the acquisition and development, we just want to make sure as we move along that the timing and that we coordinate this with the developer as well, because we're going to need that facility as well. The other,
But how is that addressed? I don't get how we would do that.
It's if you will, a footnote to the whole discussion. It has nothing to do
Right.
with the actions you're taking tonight. It's just a concern that they have, which we recognize.
yeah. No, it's not, this is something that the city has entered into negotiations with the property owner for a long time and to accommodate the relocation. But I just wanted to point that out. The other issue, and actually it is one of the major issues that we've been talking about most of the subject matter that's occurred when we met with your staff. And by the way, I want to say, although I may sound biased, that I really appreciate working with your staff. It's been a pleasure working with them, and they've always been very professional, very cooperative, so we really appreciate that. But the major issue is that, as alluded to by the planning director, there is what the city refers to as a deep sewer line that's proposed within Wake Avenue. Okay, that deep sewer line, as indicated in the report, is to serve projects and properties west and south of this project. I just want to make clear that the deep sewer line does not benefit nor serve this particular project, other than the first section of what would be from LaBoucherie Road to 23rd Street. From LaBoucherie Road to 23rd Street, there is a need to install a 12-inch sewer line to serve the project. But because the city is saying, well, you know, we have in our master water a deep sewer line that we would like the developer to enter into a reimbursement agreement to oversize your line, which is a 12-inch requirement, to 24, and we'll pay you for the oversizing cost. And the developer's in total agreement with that to accommodate the future line that's going to serve projects, again, to the west and to the south. Who knows when, but that's needed for that particular, according to the master sewer plan. And the developer also wants to make sure we understand that the condition that, how we understand condition 50, is to allow discussions to occur with city staff to come up with an agreement on how this developer can help and accommodate that particular line to be installed, whether the whole length of it, portions of it, or whatever. Our understanding in that condition that we will get with you and try to help accommodate the city. But we want to make it clear as well that because the portion of the line to 23rd Street serves no purpose or is a benefit to the developer, that the burden of the cost for any extension should be someone other than the developer, in this case probably the city. But we're willing to provide right-of-way, provide easements or anything else to accommodate that. But the design of the sewer does not involve anything to do with that deep sewer line beyond 23rd. It has nothing to do with that. That line is to serve, again, future developments. In recent discussions with your staff, there may be a rethinking about the extent of that line. If you read the conditions, it basically indicates that we'll get together with the city. We'll try to get that line and negotiate how that's going to occur. But it doesn't in no way obligate the developer to pay for anything beyond his obligation or his responsibility, which would be from LaBoucherie Road to 23rd. So we just want to make that clear that as we meet with your staff, and we're looking forward to meeting, and hopefully we can meet as quickly as possible, because this is something that we like to get out of the way. You'll hear from the developer, Mr. McFetridge. He's a little uncomfortable with the way it reads now. His lenders are a little uncomfortable with that.
I was going to ask you, so the language that we have now is not...
The way we read that language, it's basically saying that we should get together with the city to develop an agreement to provide that line, either all the way to the end of the construction site or partially to the construction site. You have to remember that this line, because it's a line that's going to serve other areas, not this particular area specifically, is going to sit there for a long, long time. So I think staff now, your staff is now looking at, well, do we really need to go all the way to the end? And maybe we shouldn't go that far, because you're going to have a line there basically 10, 20 years sitting there not used, which could cause deterioration. So, but
I recognize, Oliver, that this is a big deal. Probably this is a major item that needs to be addressed. It would seem logical to me that that this gets worked out before we approve this.
Yes.
So that you can come back to the city and propose modification to this condition that in a way that satisfies the developer, in a way that satisfies the city, and we approve it under fixed terms, so that this is not hanging over people's head over time and trying to come up with agreements that are not really stipulated. So that would make me feel better. Would you be in opposition to continue the discussion? Let's talk about this, but maybe delay or continue the item for our next meeting and allow you and staff to come up with language that everyone agrees on.
We were hoping that that language, that we could get together, as I mentioned before, we'd like to do that right away, because that is something that we have our view on how that that line should be provided and installed, and I know the city has their view as well. But as far as postponement, this condition just says to get together and then come back with an agreement. That's all it says. It doesn't stipulate the conditions, really.
And you may not like that agreement, or typically the city is the one that has the leverage.
And then we would come back with that particular agreement if there is some disagreement with that. But I would have to defer to the developer to whether he would be amenable to a continuance.
All right, so thank you. Is there anybody?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. With the next meeting, when you're talking about a meeting, I know you're not meeting. You have a special meeting in the 9th. Would that be the first meeting in
September 6th.
The first September 6th.
We have a special meeting on some rereads of ordinances, but that's all that says, special meeting for that. These items have to be done in regular meetings.
It's an adjourned
And-
regular meeting.
And
It could be done on the 9th. It could be done on the 9th.
for the special meeting,
Which one?
since Mr. Jackson has a conflict of interest, I'm not going to be there, so there's not going to be a quorum to be able to act on this.
So we're looking at September 6th?
Yeah, and I appreciate, Mr. Stowe, I do appreciate your comments on that. Maybe looking at that first week in September to address this and give staff plenty of time to just have those types of discussions.
Well, I know that the developer's anxious as well to get that ironed out, but I still want to have him say that's.
But what I would like to see, but ideally what I'd like to see is an agreement between both parties that everyone agrees to. If in the event that there is no agreement, then I'd like to see side by side over what the developer is proposing versus what the city is requesting.
Yeah, it was our understanding that the developer was in agreement with that condition. This was just brought up right now.
I think it is,
Go ahead, sir.
and because the conditions are what are important, and for the council members who have been with us a while, it's when conditions are not clear. Any kind of side agreement confuses these issues. We would rather have you have the conditions exactly as you intend for them to be, because quite frankly, 10 years from now, we'll be discussing this, as they're doing the last phase. We don't want to have that 10-year discussion with new faces. We want to make sure that whatever the developer's agreeing to, that's what they're looking for, and that the city understands what they're getting in that process. By taking it out to the first meeting of September, you may be able to also develop some language that may meet the needs of the school and the developer, to try to avoid who's going to, if you will, we're going to wind up having to rezone, and we may have an opportunity to take a look at some options that may leave both okay. And so that if one doesn't happen, the other happens, and it reverses. And that would actually give us some time to look at that. So we could get two things out of this, as well as settle this, the deep sewer. I met with the developer and Mr. Alvarado about this deep line, and they have a point. The important part, though, what you have before you doesn't reflect that. And if they're having serious difficulty, better to get this sorted out now than coming up on when we get to unit number 200 and all of a sudden we have a problem.
Because, the argument makes sense to me that, why should a developer be asked to pay more than what their share of impact is? So that makes sense to me. But I'd rather come back with a specific condition that, again, ideally everyone is in agreement with. We talked about it, we move on. But from my perspective, even if, let's say that, that there is no agreement, to just by the first meeting in September, we're apart, then what I would like to see is, again, what you're proposing, specifically, what you're proposing to have and what the city is requesting to have.
And Councilman Silva, and we did provide your staff with a rendition of that particular condition, and they reviewed it, and then they came back with the one that you see now.
Okay.
Ours was a little more specific to the point and was I thought, pretty clear whose responsibilities were whose and that. But Mr. McFettridge is ailing a little bit, and he'd like to speak from the chair, if that's okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Excuse me, I've wiring personal surgery.
No, that's not on. You can say it, Gary.
He's got to speak into it.
Testing?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, you'll have to excuse me, I'm just doing some recovery out of some surgery. This deep sewer thing has been an issue for about 4 years, and we've been going back and forth and back and forth on it.
Okay, there you go.
And this deep sewer, folks, it's to get an idea of what we're talking about. This isn't just like an 8-foot or 10-foot deep sewer. This thing is a 2-story building deep, 24-foot deep sewer line that we do not have a need for. It's a simple way to explain it. It is so that if they flush a toilet out at McCabe School, it gravity flows all the way over to this sewer lift station. And it's for the future development of El Centro, not for my project. It's for the Imperial County Sheriffs, for everything out to McCabe School. It's for all the future development, not for this particular project. If this was imposed on this project could not go forward. The people that are financing this project for me, they need this clarified, and which I have had them, they're waiting now, to get this clarified. If there's any way possible that we could have this meeting and get this straightened out right away instead of keep prolonging it. This has been years, you guys. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of money invested, and we really need an answer to it. And I don't know, just keep postponing it. We really need the project, and the project we were currently doing is finished. And there's not I think the Wildflower's finishing up their project. There are no other projects in this town. And Straits are right. It's time for this thing to move on. And we met with Mr. Duran, and I thought that we had pretty well clear what we were going to do, but if there's some way possible, but we don't have a project if it's other than that, you guys. We're not going to get financing for future development for El Centro. That's not going to happen.
Well, I really appreciate your comments, Mr. McFrederick, and I'm actually very excited about the project and the work that everyone has done. This is a huge project, and I'm very, very grateful that it's in our city. I think what I am hearing is that that we can maybe resolve this by that first week in September, and at our next council meeting. So I believe that if you would afford us the opportunity to meet and discuss this, that could probably be under further consideration, and we can probably wrap this thing up and move forward in the first week in September. Is that kind of what I'm hearing, Norma? Maybe you think, or?
Yes, and just to clarify, the reason that condition is there is because that's in our sewer master plan, basically.
Yeah.
So that's and it's been done in the past where the developer gets reimbursed. In this case, it is a deep sewer line, so I can see what the developer is
and like
facing.
I said, I don't think that we should impose costs on developers that are not, associated with their project, especially something that is pretty expensive, mm-hmm. and that may place, the project in jeopardy. I think that we need to negotiate, and we need to work with the developer and find out a solution that works for the city, mm-hmm. as well as the developer. So I think, a 30-day delay to the first meeting in September mm-hmm. Will probably make that happen. So I suggest that we do that.
Any other comments, Mr. McFedrich?
Well, it's disappointing. Very disappointing, you guys. We worked so hard to try to put this project together. But,
But
you're asking me for the
I
answer.
think, the option that's in front of us, Gary, is what we have, right? And Oliver is saying that this doesn't work for you, and what I'm saying is that rather than approving this, having further discussions that don't work for you or the city, and then having to come back to rehash that. I don't think that's a good idea. I think that we need to find a way to get something concrete, final, and then you know where you stand, and the city knows where we stand, and then we move forward. I know that you're in a hurry to get this done, but this is a big item, and so I think that we need to.
It's a deal killer. There's no doubt about that. You don't have a project.
But we don't have the mechanism right now to change that. That's why I'm saying that I think that we need to go back and look at the language and come up with something.
Hey, who would do this? Who would come up with it? Who do we meet with?
Well,
I've been meeting with staff and everybody for.
Let me make an inquiry into that, sir. Mr. Duran, what would you propose, or what would you think?
If we can get this from the public hearing side, I guess I'm concerned we're getting away from the public hearing back into your actions, but we can answer that question.
So want me to go ahead and close the public hearing if there's no other comments?
Spoken, we have more public hearing.
If you need to leave the public hearing open and
Okay.
continue if that's your wish, to continue the public hearing.
But to,
I don't want to jeopardize the public hearing.
but to Mr. McFedrick's inquiry, as far as what would this look like, is that discussed under the public hearing? Because I know I heard that we don't want to get away from it. No?
No.
Okay. So at this point, then, our option would be, if there's no other comment.
If you're going to continue, if I am, Mayor Pro Tem, if you're going to continue the public hearing, that's fine, and that's your declaration that you come to. Ms. Viacana, Mr. Hagan, and myself will meet to work out what that is, and then come up with some issues. Remember, we think we have two things to work on: this school zoning issue that they want to change, because we're talking about going off of what's being recommended, and this deep sewer issue. Then we'll have time to meet with the developer when we think we have some language, because I certainly appreciate the position they're in, and we can get this sorted. And we come back to the public hearing, we present what that language is, because that language has to be presented in public hearing, and not just drafted, because what the citizens, the public is seeing is this, and these conditions, we're changing the conditions, and so they have to have the opportunity to also come in and comment.
I agree with Mr. Duran on that, because otherwise we're going to go on and on and on with this. That as long as it's in your hands, we're getting it done, and it's not going through the same process that I've been doing with staff.
Yes, sir. So let me go ahead, if there's no other comment, that I would go ahead and, unless there is there any other comments related to those three items?
How soon would that happen?
That's which one? The hearing or the discussion?
The agreement on this deep sewer line.
Well, I'll be meeting with our staff tomorrow to start working language, but within the week, we should be in contact with you of what we think we have. Or what's going on, I guess is better. If there's going to be something longer than that, we're going to let you know, this is what's happening. Mr. Hagan, would you agree? Okay. Ms. Viacana, would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, so you'll get an update.
I agree
So
with
we're not
that.
meeting this week. We'll be telling you when that's happening. But our goal is to have everything sorted, one way or the other, back here for the first meeting in September.
Ms. Betsy?
So, Mayor Pro Tem, if there's anyone else who would like to comment on this now, who could not return on September 6th or prefers to comment now, he or she should be heard. And then I would suggest that you continue the public hearing with the hearing open, because I believe you will be potentially taking more testimony on new issues only.
Okay.
Which would be the two issues that you've discussed here that the developers requested changes on.
Would I have to declare a date on when that would be continued?
Yes, and that would be September 6th.
Okay. So is there any other comments in relations to the three items that this public hearing is addressing? Yes, sir.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. I just want to clarify that the hearings, is that all three hearings being continued, or can they take action on the environmental?
All three.
So there's, okay, I'm just
We're continuing
wondering about the city consult.
They're all attached. So we need to do them all together.
Okay, so the EIR hearing is also being continued?
Yes, all
Okay,
three.
Thank you.
Good question.
Yes.
I have one more question regarding the school site. When we originally did this, we had it for 600 and, what was it, 9 lots or something like that. And when the schools, they represented an interest to have a school site there. So what we wanted to do was to put in our EIR, cover the area that they wished to put the school site. And so they came out with their representative, and they chose that particular site. So we reserved that site. And what I thought we were doing at that time, hey, it's going to be R1, or if you guys want to go ahead and put a school site there, then we've already covered it in our EIR, and we don't have to come back before you and do that again. I have sold property to the schools before. And it involves, it's not just McCabe that comes up here and does this. This is the state of California has to come in. They have to come in and make sure that this is a site that they want, and they have to do their appraisals, and it's quite a long process. And what I was told at the time, the McCabe School is not ready for a school at this time, but they asked me how long it would take before I'd be down there. Well, I know this is a long project, 600 homes, but this is something that's going to happen over 10 years. So it'll be 3 or 4 years before we're down there to that point. So there hasn't been any notification to me whatsoever of them saying, hey, we want that site.
All right. And I know that's one of the things that they would cover in the meeting, so I do appreciate your comments on that, sir. I believe Ms. Doobie also has some comment. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, and I'm returning to respectfully add some comments that might clarify some of the conversations we've had regarding the school site. One of the things that I would like to say is in respect to the 5 year, to all the years that have gone into planning for Lotus Ranch, to inform you that the district, McCabe School District, has undergone a change in the administrative leadership team recently. I'm going into my second year. As I first came on board, I did have an opportunity to meet with Mr. Alvarado and Mr. McFetridge as they brought the map over to McCabe, and we looked at this original school site. The business manager at that time was instrumental as I was coming on board. Our business manager retired effective June 30th, and we've just brought on our Director of Administrative and Fiscal Services, Mrs. Elizabeth Goff, who is present with me today. She took her post July 1, so very new into the position. And as we come up to speed, we would like to have some conversations with both Mr. Alvarado and Mr. McFetridge. What I can speak to is the reassurance that the McCabe School District will need the school site. We are impacted. The students that will be generated from 500 plus homes as they are built will not fit on the existing campus that we have. So we are very ready to move forward and formalize some of the plans that have been in place by the previous superintendent and business manager. And with that, those are just the additional comments I wanted to make.
Yeah, and I wanted to disclose to the council and to Betsy that the new business manager, Liz Goff, is my sister. She is my younger sister. So I do want to disclose that she is my sister.
But she's still a grown-up, right?
Yeah. Yes, I just wanted to put that on the record.
Yes, and we are going to reach out to the developer and set up some meetings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments before I continue the public hearing?
I have a couple of questions that perhaps may require the developer to come to the issue of that, the walkway, across the cul-de-sacs, the proposal to have does that create any issues with you?
No. Actually, I've worked with Norma on that and Adriana, and we think it's going to help the project. I don't see it. It's a pedestrian connection.
Well, I think that the concern that I had, and maybe I just was looking at the picture, and maybe I need to recognize that it may not look like that, but if it's going to have landscaping, who's going to maintain the landscaping?
The landscaping and maintenance district, that's going to be set up for the whole development.
Oh, there's a landscaping
Yes.
maintenance district. Oh, okay.
Yes. That's consistent with your development requirements for all the new subdivisions.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I believe that's a state rule, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also the 10-foot sidewalk?
Well, I'm under some medication, folks.
Okay.
But this center part of the project that we're going to start first is the Renaissance project. And that's roughly, I don't know, say there's 200 homes there. That is going to have that 10-foot walk all the way around that project. And it's going to be meandering. We went through a lot of different designs on that.
I'm sorry, I'm talking about the sidewalk. They were talking
what
about
I'm
10 foot.
speaking of.
Okay, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah, and so it's a 10-foot wide sidewalk, and I'm in agreement with doing that. And that is a sidewalk that goes around the Renaissance project and around the park. So you'd actually be able to go around the park, and there'll be some lighting there at the park, and around the Renaissance project, you'll be able, it's 10-foot wide, so it's a combination use of a bicycle and also of a pedestrian nature to walk in. So it's going to be a real nice situation there, and we have no objection to that.
Again, I do appreciate everybody's comments, and at this point, if there is no other comment, I'm going to go ahead and continue this all three public hearings to September 6th. And so I'm, again, very excited about the project and looking forward to seeing this back at the council.
I want to thank the staff.
Yes, me too.
We'll get it done.
Yes. Thank you.
We're going to get this done.
And I appreciate your patience. Thank you to the entire team. So we'll see you guys on, we'll see you in December, in September. Thank you. You know what? Can we go ahead and take a quick 3-minute break and allow our mayor to come back? All right, we'll take a 3-minute break, which probably usually means 10. So, thanks, brother. You guys can come on in and have a seat. I know our mayor's still outside sweating, so. Okay. So, Betsy, I guess I was informed that there is somebody from El Toro that would like to provide some public comment. So would I just go ahead and reopen the?
Well, you didn't close the hearing. You continued, but you didn't close, so it's fine. Please go ahead.
Okay, sir, if you'd like to address the council.
Good evening, council members and staff. My name's Bailey Johnson. I'm with El Toro Export. Just looking for a little bit of clarification on one of the conditions of approval we've requested since the very beginning of our involvement with speaking on this project. Of course, we're located directly south of this new housing development. We requested a sales disclosure or advisory notice be put into place, and basically just looking for a little bit more clarification on whether or not we could actually have that signed by the potential home buyer and retained by the developer. That was first requested March of 2015, and over the course of about half a dozen emails, speaking publicly twice now, and 2 meetings with Mrs. Viacana and Adriana Nava. Both have been helpful, very reactionary to our requests, but this is one last little piece that we're still struggling with at El Toro to better protect us and the builder from a potential future lawsuit in the event that somebody says, you didn't warn me about that feedlot next door enough, as if they didn't smell it already.
Yeah.
That's what we're after, is something in writing and retained by the builder.
Okay, so let me go ahead and give that back to staff. Ms. Viacani, would you like to address that, please?
Yes, if I can refer you to condition number 24.
Should be in 9A.
9A?
Page 483 on your packet.
Okay.
There is a condition that states that an advisory notice shall be provided in writing to potential home buyers at the time the purchase offer is submitted. We want to make sure that they know before they purchase the property, when the purchase office is submitted. The notice shall include information about Imperial County's right to farm ordinance and impacts associated from nearby agriculture operations, included but not limited to noise, odor, dust, and lighting. The notice shall also include notification that the entire subdivision is restricted from the use of all fireworks due to the adjacent hay storage operations. So that's how the condition reads right now.
Okay. Is that, that's the response from staff, and do you have any other comments in relations to that?
No, that's basically what we requested, except for the piece where we would just like that to be signed and retained by the builder, any potential home buyer. They give it to them. Of course, they've agreed to give it, and that's what we want it to be done. But we'd like that to be signed and retained. That's the last piece we're missing.
Ms. Villacaña, again, where we're at right now as far as the action, there is no action tonight other than we will be continuing this hearing to September 6th. But in relations to his comment or his inquiry, Ms. Villacaña, is that a standard practice that they would maybe make it conditional, or is that something that
I'm not sure how the sales process is when purchasing a home. I know there's a lot of forms that need to be signed. I'm not sure if it's standard practice. If the council wishes, we can add language. I'm looking back at maybe Mr. Alvarado or
Well, I'm really, my comment would be that I'm glad that there is disclosure there, and I appreciate that that's in the terms and conditions. I just don't know how common it would be to actually have someone sign or initial, if we even have if that would even be a proper or appropriate request.
Well, it's typical when you purchase a home to get all disclosure statements, depending on where you're purchasing the property. If you're nearby a dump site, I'm sure there's going to be a disclosure statements that you're going to sign, just to make sure that the purchaser understands that they're going to be living next to something offensive, or in this case, it would be the El Toro and the Haystack facility. So with this disclosure, the property owners cannot come back later, 5 years from now, and say, well, nobody told me that there was a hay business right south of the project site, or and so forth.
How does that get handled for second buyers?
If you're buying the piece of property new or through using California real estate forms, as Norma's pointed out, there is a form that the purchaser does sign for both original and resales that discloses special circumstances which could impact your use of the residential property. What this doesn't do, as he's pointed out, is say the person will sign that they received the notice. So there is a mechanism, I think, to do it if you choose to do that. And then the document is retained in the escrow file of the house, including upon resale.
Actually, that's not a bad idea, I don't think.
It's done for a number of other things.
Because I think
there's another secondary beyond the agricultural one. This is the one area that we're restricting fireworks, and I think that's the reason to do that, as opposed to, well, we have the ag, the ag agreement and all through the city, but this is the only area that so far we have with fireworks, and I think there's so I don't see why that can't be added. We're going to be doing the other changes, and that shouldn't impact the owner, the developer, for the simple reason. That goes into your title documents, and you know how many things you sign.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because I know the people that live next to our sewer plant have forgotten that they were notified in some way.
So is direction from the council is that we would go ahead and be sure to let the developer know we're adding that in there.
Okay.
And I didn't mean to ask another question, and I forgot until just now. On the report, it talks about, the opinion, I don't know if it came from you, Betsy, or someone, about this not creating an island.
Yes.
But I read something about LAFCO, and when it gets to LAFCO, do they have the ability to not accept that and deny annexation given their opinion that it is an island, or how do those dynamics play out?
Our analysis is that the approval of this project and its annexation don't create an island. The next one may, whether the LAFCO staff or board agrees with that is something of an open question. They would try to condition the annexation upon a requirement to annex additional areas north of Lotus Ranch, I believe. And you're going to argue about them when it gets time to do that.
Is that something that we would argue or the developer would argue?
I think we would do it together.
Good. All right, so I do, I'm hearing that this is probably something that we would consider, sir. So unless, Mr. Oliver, would you like to provide any comment to that?
Yes, going back to the annexation issue that was discussed and whether or not it's an island created, there were some assertions made at the Plan Commission meeting about that, and your council opined that certainly isn't the case as far as an island is concerned. And in fact, the developer, the property owner now for the Miller-Burson property also acknowledged that as well. He wasn't concerned with that. He was concerned with having buyer's remorse and having someone help him out a little bit with his responsibilities. Part of his responsibilities for Miller-Burson required him to annex the Lotus Lane area as well as to provide for improvements to those. So we feel pretty confident with the opinion from your council that this does not create an island. And again, the ultimate decision maker will be LAFCO, though. They'll be the ultimate decision maker.
Right.
And there's excellent language that was placed in the response to comments in the EIR, which supports the developers and the city's position.
That's correct.
Okay, and this in regards to making it conditional that the buyer sign the document acknowledging the disclosure, do you have?
I don't think we have any problem with that.
Okay, so
it's just certifying receipt of the letter or the information.
Okay,
I don't think there's a problem.
And just still, do you have any comment, Mr. Garcia, in regards to that? Otherwise, we'll move forward with direction that we would encourage that, or that the direction would be that would be included as a term and condition.
Okay, moving.
Okay. All right, so there's your direction. Thank you, sir.
Are there any more comments?
Yeah, any other comments? Anybody else? Okay, so then I'll go ahead and continue the public hearing to September 6th, and we'll have more information then. Thank you. And then I'll go ahead and call our mayor, and we'll go to the next item.
Good job.
Okay. What am I doing? That wasn't bad at all. And that takes you down to item 13.
That's true.
13. Right. Mayor, we'll be at item 13.
Item 13?
Okay, hold.
Are we in item 12?
Actually, it's 12.
I'm sorry,
I think.
12. You're correct. My apologies.
I drink your water, dude.
Two
so-
halves of the whole.
Okay. Had time to run to the mall, do some shopping. Okay. Looks like we're on item 12, amendment to Chapter 11 of the State Code establishing regulations for mobile food facilities. Ms. Nora Villacana.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor and members of the council. The item before you is an amendment to our municipal code in relationship to allowing mobile food facilities within our city. This has been a long process. We wanted to make sure to get public input because we've had several requests from the public as to permitting a mobile food facility. So we started back early this year with a public workshop to discuss the proposed ordinance. We did receive several comments that were incorporated into the ordinance. We also put it out for public review and requested comments. And it went to the Planning Commission on June 14th, and the Planning Commission recommended approval on the proposed ordinance. So just a brief summary, who is considered to be a mobile food vendor? We had a hard time working on this ordinance because there's different types of mobile food facilities. You have different categories, so what we did, we broke it down to the processing, which are those commercial food vendors that typically cook the food within the facility. Then you have the limited category, which basically are those hot dog carts and snow cones and so forth. Then you have the non-processing, which is the ice cream trucks. And then one new thing that we're proposing is the mobile food courts. And as you can see from the table,
I like that you included a paleta truck.
Paletero. As you can see, we're allowing these facilities within commercial and industrial areas. On some of them, we are requiring a conditional use permit, which would be the mobile food court, and I'll go over that right now. On the processing food, we're requiring a temporary use permit, and also the limited if it's being vended from a private property, and there's time limitations. So going back to the processing, one of the conditions of the processing category is that it requires a kitchen, a commissary. So a commissary basically is a kitchen that has been licensed by the Public Health Department, where the food is prepared, stored, and equipment is cleaned, and waste is disposed of. So that's a commissary. So under the mobile food facility, again, the definition is those facilities that involve cooking, frying, grilling, etc. And these facilities are only allowed to vend from private property. The zones allowed are in the commercial and manufacturing zones, and there are restrictions. Obviously, you cannot vend from city streets. There shall be no signage, very limited furniture, no selling of alcohol, and no interference with pedestrians or traffic. Also, only very limited furniture is allowed. We're not encouraging people to sit down and have a 2-hour dinner. A mobile food facility is basically kind of grab, eat, and go. So we're proposing to allow up to 4 standing tables. The parking lot requirements, or wherever the mobile food facility is established, has to be paved, and it has to have adequate parking for the customers. And all the storage and refuse, there's no storage permitted, and all the refuse has to be disposed accordingly to our standards. And so that would be under the mobile food facility.
Norma, what's the verbal solicitation? Like, what are you talking about? With, like, speakers on the trucks and things like that? Is that what that is?
Yes, but sometimes, yeah, that's the loud noise and everything.
So would that be like ice cream trucks when they play the music? Would that
Well,
fall
there's some restrictions as to the noise level, and we're going to go over that right now. Again, these are the eligible zones where we're proposing all the commercial and industrial areas. Now, a limited food facility are these type of uses, and you see them, in other areas. So the restrictions or the conditions are actually, again, allowed in all commercial and manufacturing zones. Now, on these facilities, they can vend on public right-of-ways, which have speed limit of no more than 35 miles per hour, and that's going to be for a limit of no more than 2 hours. Like the other facilities, no signage and so forth will be allowed. Site furniture, same thing. Parking lot requirements, if they're going to be in a private parking lot, again, requires to be a paved surface. And same thing with the storage and refuse and security, no loitering. Now the non-processing food facility would be like the ice cream truck or the paletero. and these will be allowed on public right-of-way, citywide. There are restrictions that you can only, again, the roads, the public streets cannot have more than 35 mile per hour standard and no more than 2 hours. With this facility, there is a restriction as to the noise level, and that's 60 CNLE, which is per our standards, our zoning standards. Again, no site furniture, no signage. Now, if these facilities are used for special events, like they're commonly used at the park, they will require a special event permit from the Parks and Recreation Division. Okay. And then you have the mobile food courts. We don't have any at this time, but you see them in larger cities where a group of mobile food facilities just get together in one parcel, one area. So the definition for the requirements for the mobile food courts would require a conditional use permit. And this is any parcel where 2 or more mobile food businesses will be located. Again, there's restrictions as to the signage and lighting and so forth. Also, no site furniture if ending from the right-of-way. However, if they're in a mobile food court, they can have furniture. And special events, again, mobile food facilities shall obtain a special event permit from Parks and Recreation Division if they're going to be operating for any type of special event.
Norma, when you say a conditional use permit, are we talking about the normal process that we have for our typical CUPs? Or is this a separate process for these vendors, separate process and a separate cost?
Okay, on this one, I think it's on the, okay, on the process. I'm sorry, which one?
How much do we charge for an application for a conditional use permit?
About $2,200.
So are we talking about the same thing for these CUPs?
Just for the mobile food courts.
Right, yeah.
And it would require conditional use permit before the Planning Commission.
That's going to be $2,000 for that?
$2,000. A conditional use permit application is $2,200.
To me, and we're talking about them having the ability to sell for one day?
Well, no, it would be an established, and we have a member in the public that maybe can discuss that a little bit more, who's interested in having a mobile food court, which would basically be an established site where mobile food facilities gather or basically are there. And maybe they open in the evenings or certain times of the day. And so the reason we thought a conditional use permit would be appropriate would be because we got to take a look at traffic. We got to take a look at restroom facilities, because that's going to be more of it's not a permanent, but it's going to be more of a permanent location where they're going to be located there all the time.
Which could be a parking lot.
It could be a park.
So we're talking about identifying a site. So the conditional use permit is for the site or for the vendors?
For the site.
For the site.
Yeah,
okay,
in any event, I mean, it would be up to the property owner or the applicant to.
Okay. No, I thought you were talking about each vendor.
Oh, no, it's,
Okay.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
it's per
Okay.
court. It's
For
per
the site.
court.
Okay.
For the
All right,
site.
okay.
I have a quick question. Thinking down the road, if we were going to be doing a special event and say inviting more than, if the food trucks wanted to get involved and let's say it was more than one, would that fall into the same circumstance where they would need a conditional use permit?
No, because it would be just a one-day event or one time only. So it would be a special event permit.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure.
So those are the 4 classifications that we have within the ordinance. Now, at the Planning Commission hearing, there was a member of the public who did request that we change the distance between food facilities as it relates to the food courts. And the ordinance, as you have it before you, states that there shall be one food truck per every 2,000 square feet. Now, the member of the public requested that we change that to one food truck per 1,000 square feet. The Planning Commission did not act on this. They left the ordinance as proposed. After the hearing, staff went back and looked at other cities, and it seems like the one per 1,000 square feet is more standard than what we have in the ordinance. So we have no opposition if City Council wants to consider that change. So at this time, we're asking that the public hearing be opened and request adoption of the ordinances. Now, we're also making changes to Chapter 29, which basically allows the land use designation. Basically, what we're going to do, if you can see from your ordinance, we're just adding mobile food facilities to the commercial and manufacturing and adding a couple of definitions to the ordinance.
Before we open the public hearing, I had another question. Did the Planning Commission, or did at any stage, was there discussions regarding allowing any sort of temporary seating for, say, the elderly or for disabled patrons?
Yes, a member of the public did ask that we allow seating because he mentioned that he has customers, elderly customers, or maybe disabled, who would rather sit down and eat than stand up and eat. The Planning Commission did not take any action on that, but that was brought up.
What is in reviewing the standardized kind of requirements at other facilities, did you guys find any?
Yeah, there's some some ordinances within, we looked at different ordinances that allow the seating. If you were to consider that, I would recommend maybe just a small number of seats. That way you don't make it as maybe 4 seats or 6 seats, no more than 4 seats maybe.
Okay.
Because, you talked about allowing limited furniture within private property, right? And are we talking about the same?
Limited
property?
furniture would be like the stand-up tables, but if you would like to add the seating, we could say, we could add seating.
Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the intention would be to turn it into an outdoor restaurant, so to speak, but to be able to accommodate elderly and disabled patrons. I think that was the concern that was brought up to me.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions before we open?
I'll defer my comments to after the public hearing.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so at this time we'll open it up. Please state your name for the record and...
Hello, my name is Rodrigo Gutierrez. Good afternoon, City Council, Mayor. I'm interested in building a food court in the downtown area. With this, I think the results that the city will see an increase in sales tax revenue, as well as increase in revenue in business permits issued. Also create jobs in cooks, chefs running their trucks, as well as seeing an industry grow, the food industry. Also, the space I'm hoping to create will make the community bond and socialize and know each other better. My vision for this is we don't have great weather here in the valley, but I'm hoping of having great food. Maybe start here in the county, then the state, then the country, the whole countrywide, being recognized for having great food. With this in mind, I think you have a great opportunity to make a positive impact here in the community. We're requesting very little from the city, I think, and I think we're giving a lot back. And please help us help you. Thank you.
Okay. Once you stay at the podium, do you have a location that you're saying downtown? Or you have a location that you've already selected to?
Yes, I have been in talks with the owner of property. It's on the Broadway Avenue. It's 720, like in front of where the bus stop is, on the going north. There's a big parking lot there. So I'm talking with them. I'm just waiting on your decision to see if I open escrow or not.
Okay.
Are you referring to the property on the corner of Broadway and 7th?
It's 721 Broadway.
Norma, how do we determine off-street parking for these mobile food courts?
Well, if it's in the downtown, there's no requirement for parking, for off-street parking. So it would be that if it's in other areas, we would consider the parking. I think it's two parking.
Good question. There's one public parking lot in the back and one big parking lot of the city in the front, and also the property adjacent to the one I'm planning on buying. It's a good friend of mine, so we are also in talks of maybe providing that space for parking. So parking will not be an issue.
Mayor, Ms. Biacani, outside the downtown area, there is parking required. So if an individual was going to somewhere other than the downtown area, they would have to, in whatever properties that they were going to locate the food court, for example, they'd have to accommodate a number of parking spots for the number of square
and
feet.
it's 2 parking spaces per truck.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, what's your name?
Rodrigo.
Rodrigo mentioned increase in sales tax revenue. Do these food vendors charge sales tax?
Well, yeah, they're required. They'll be providing a service within the city limits, so I think they're under that.
Again, Mayor, if I may, is any business opening up will require to get their business license, their health permit, and their sales tax permit if they're operating a retail operation, which this is. If they're not, well, then they're not getting their business license either, which actually what this really does is it starts to formalize this relationship because we don't have a mechanism for dealing with mobile food. And we knew this was coming. That's why Ms. Viacana came and said we need to get a handle on all of this.
And we've been working very closely with environmental health and the public health department. And so they're going to be the ones who are going to be permitting the facility, the food truck or the cart or whatever. And once they have that permit in place, then they can come in and all of these vendors will require a business license.
Okay.
Norma, can you forward to the photo that you had of the... keep going, where you had the food court deal.
Food court.
Yeah. Okay. So this looks like it's inside kind of a barn-type structure, like maybe you'd see out of the fairgrounds. Is it Rodrigo?
Yeah.
Rodrigo. Are you thinking about building some kind of a open-air cover? And is that something that is permitted as far as, would they be constructing something for shade and such?
Yes, it will be beautiful. It will have the shade. It will incorporate a lot of plants, green. I'm trying to use natural resources as much as possible, not dig holes or anything. So I'll be working to do it as environmentally friendly as possible.
And if this, like for this type of establishment, it requires a conditional use permit, and part of the conditional use permit is going through a site plan review. And obviously, there's going to be conditions and also building permits that would be required.
Okay, good. That was my next question.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
I can see a norteño band.
I just want to see the cotton candy guy. You know, the cotton candy with the stick and that guy.
Okay. Any other questions?
You know, I had a comment, and then I wanted to. This is pretty amazing, Ms. Villacana. I wanted to tell you that the report and the effort, and Mr. Duran, your leadership on addressing this ordinance is very exciting, and is an extremely comprehensive report. I mean, you guys really touched on everything. So I do want to congratulate you guys and your staff on taking this on. I believe that we're going to be the first city to have an ordinance in regards to this. So again, great work in addressing everything from furniture to signage to, rotation, just excellent work. My only comment would be in regards to enforcement. And this just comes from, I have a couple schools that have reached out to me, in particular to the ice cream man, that sometimes it causes some traffic issues and some safety issues. As far as the actual enforcement of the ordinance, which department would actually be responsible for the enforcement? I mean, does it come down to our chief, or is that something that Mr. Soto, or how does something like that work?
I think at the end, it's going to be both departments. If it's within private property, obviously it's going to be code enforcement. But we work together, or if it's something that's on public right-of-way, like the street, then we would seek the assistance of the police department.
Okay.
So it would depend on what the issue is and where they're located.
So an example where maybe an ice cream truck is causing some perceived safety issues in front of a school, the principal would maybe defer that call to the police?
To the police department. Or if they defer it to us, we can contact the police department.
All right. That was my only question, but again, thank you, and I appreciate you guys taking this on.
One other question regarding fire suppression. These food trucks have their own internal fire suppression? Maybe.
I'm looking at Frank on the fire suppression. I know that's a conversation we had with Public Health Department. And I'm looking at Frank.
Yes, most of them do have a fire suppression system in them, but however, we won't be regulating them.
Okay, so that wouldn't be part of this ordinance. And in the event that a structure is constructed as the applicant is speaking of, would there be a need for suppression within that structure?
It's a possibility, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Just a comment. Do we wish to further discuss, or what are the feelings regarding a limited seating amendment in order to specifically accommodate elderly and disabled patrons?
I think, why don't we hold that and let's see, is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this from the public? Okay, seeing none, then we can close public hearing, come back to council, and then let's address this from a staff perspective. What, you said that you saw a lot of the other ordinances that had carve-outs for something like that?
They allow seating. Other cities allow seating. So.
But they had it all limited to like.
Some cities don't have a limit. It varies. Some cities just allow the long tables, the stand-up tables. So.
And this will be only on private property, or also
Yes, it
public?
would be on private property.
If I may, because we went through this 10 years ago with the restaurants, of counting chairs.
Yeah.
It's a disaster for us because, you allow 6 chairs, and they pull the 4 off. They come back, 10 chairs are back up. And look, if we're going to allow within the 2,000 or 1,000 square feet, you have to stay within that 1,000 square feet is where your chairs stay. I mean, whatever we're talking about for a truck, and it would be not this is for the mobile courts, I mean, not the mobile courts, but the processing. The ice cream truck doesn't get a chair, but if you're going to allow it, if there's language that says temporary furniture, so you can't put up permanent furniture up there, I would recommend that you limit it to some kind of square footage rather than number of chairs, because it gets impossible, and quite frankly, we're going to have people counting chairs all the time.
In other words, if we're going to allow it, we just allow it.
Allow them, they have to stay within the area, whatever that designated area is. They just can't sprawl out.
From maybe to Mr. or Councilmember Garcia's point regarding ADA compliance, I mean, I'm sure that it's adhering to all possible, or all, to all sorts of ADA compliance regulations, right?
That's correct.
And there's no relation in terms of seating or size?
No.
Okay.
And if we weren't to allow seating, per se, as far as the provider of the food having tables and chairs, does that preclude somebody from bringing their own chair?
No, it does not preclude.
Okay.
But typically, what we've been told by the proponents who want the seating is that their customers, are walking from the clinic, like on 4th and Main, or they're walking, and they're elderly and they just want to sit down and eat, and, they're not going to be carrying their chairs with them,
I was going to follow up. I just wanted to make sure, I believe I did receive an email regarding a restaurant that wanted to provide seating outside of their restaurant, especially in downtown. And I believe that there's a permit that's required for that. Is that accurate?
Well, if it's within their own private property, there's typically restaurants are based on seating, so their water and sewer capacity fees are based on the number of seating. So if it doesn't go over the number of seatings allowed, it's okay if it's on private property. Now, if it's like on Main Street where you're on like the sidewalk,
Right.
that requires an encroachment permit.
And that's what I was referring to, the Old Time 60 Diner. They said that they had to, I believe, get an encroachment permit to have the furniture. So I guess would the ordinance kind of be in line with those?
Yes, if
Okay.
it's on public right away, definitely would require. And the only times that we can see this would be maybe on a special event or something
Okay.
like that.
Thank you.
Okay. So what is the feeling of the council? Do we want to, I kind of agree with Mr. Duran. It's we're either in or we're out. I don't know, we want to be in the business of counting chairs and having code enforcement there every day. So what do you guys think?
I'm
But I think
supportive of
if I,
Mr.
maybe if we make that, Mr. Connie, is that if you're direct staff to add in the language for chair, that it be temporary seating. So no one starts.
That's true, yeah. We don't want to see full-on benches.
Well, it's like South Miami, the sidewalks, you have to walk between the tables, in South Beach. So I think is that it be limited in that language is associated with that site that's been approved, and it'd be temporary. In other words, folding chairs and tables. But this way, I think we'd be okay.
And one thing that I did fail to mention, Adriana brought it to my attention, is that the mobile food facilities and the other facilities, except the food courts, will require a temporary use permit, a TUP, which is what we require from the flower vendors and those kinds of businesses. And it would be a yearly TUP, and it's $181, so it's not very expensive.
Betsy, do you see anything that we're missing that we need to address?
We had pretty extensive discussions of the same issue. We resolved those by leaving the ordinance alone and relying on the ADA language, although that is language regarding accessibility. If you want to add temporary seating, it's going to be subject to ADA accessibility issues. Alternatively, you could add into the accessibility section seating when required for eight people subject to the Americans with Disabilities Act, although that doesn't necessarily address the elderly.
I agree with Mr. Duran. I don't think we should be counting chairs. That is something that probably is best left to the individual proprietor. If they want to provide temporary seating for their customers, it's more of a hospitality issue. But I do agree that they should stay within their own defined space. And it should be very clear that it's temporary. We don't want any structures. And it is on private property, so that's the other issue that we should consider.
The temporary, non-fixed, within the 1,000 square foot area that they're, but that's only addresses to the food court. So when we're talking about
The processing. you're talking about the processing.
there is no area for them, right?
No.
So in theory, I mean, they could put chairs all over the place. Is there any way to regulate?
Well, there is an area because typically they set up like in a parking lot or they lease space from a business, an existing business. So we could define the space. Now, the application they're going to be submitting, the TUP application, we can request that information. How much space are you going to be in that? We
could probably put limits on it when they come to the TUP.
Right.
Okay. I think that's probably what we want to do so that it doesn't get too far out of hand. And maybe we can look at best practices of other areas, what they're doing, and then kind of address it that way.
Okay.
All right.
But that's something that we can still move forward with the action item this evening.
Yeah, we're just giving direction to staff to.
We'll add that language into that section.
Add that language, yeah.
I think you're going to be looking at amending section 11-97, B4 and
5 or 97?
97, B4. There's two sections regarding private property and site furniture that currently prohibit chairs, whether they're permanent or otherwise, and those could be revised to refer to seating allowed, limited temporary seating allowed through the TUP process.
Yes.
I think
Would
you
that
have
work?
11, 95, and 97.
Yeah.
95 and 97. And the 90, what direction do you want to give us regarding the distance within the mobile food courts?
Oh, wait.
It's
different.
I think we're okay with the recommendation from staff, the 1,000 square feet.
1,000, okay.
Yeah. Will you guys concur with that? Okay. So we're good with 1,000 square feet?
Same section, that's all.
No?
Yeah.
I think 1,000 square feet, I think it would be best to probably do the research first and see, because we don't, thinking of 1,000.
No, that, for the mobile food court.
Oh, it's okay. I thought you were talking about the 1,000.
I was agreeing with you.
Yes.
And then you said- Okay, so yeah, yeah. And then, yeah, we'll allow you, staff can research it and figure out for the TUP.
Be part of the TUP
What
process.
is best for that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
Perfect.
All right, okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so this time we'll look for a motion to approve or introduce ordinance 16-07,
07.
an ordinance of the City Council of the City of El Centro amending the city code by adding Article 5 to Chapter 11, establishing regulations and procedures for mobile food facilities, waive reading and approve as first reading, and authorize the city clerk to place on the next agenda for second reading and adoption. And that is to also.
As modified.
As
correct.
modified to include the language and direction to staff. We have a motion from Garcia, a second from Silva. Please ballot. Passes 4-0 with one absent. Okay. We'll now move on to item number 13. I don't need to reopen for 13, right? We just go ahead and approve? Is that right?
I think you open for both.
I opened for both one, I mean, it was Betsy? I don't need to reopen for.
No, you
13.
just need to take the action
Gotcha. Okay,
separately,
just
sorry.
wanted to check. Okay, so introduction of ordinance number 16-08, an ordinance of the City Council of City of El Centro amending the city code by amending sections 29-2, subsection C of table 29-61.1 of section 29-61, subsection E of table 29-69.1 of section 29-69, subsection C of table 29-77.1 of section 29-77 of Article 2, subsection 1 of, of sections 29-225, Article 4 of Chapter 29, waive reading and approve as first reading and authorize city clerk to place on next agenda for second reading and adoption. Again, with any language and direction that we gave to staff. Motion by Silva, second by Garcia. His ballot. That passes 4-0, one absent. Thank you, guys, and great work on that. Okay, we'll go to item 14, discussion and necessary action regarding an ordinance regarding the Library and Community Services Board. Presentation by Ms. Piedra.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. Actually bringing back to you a proposed ordinance to create the Library and Community Services Board. This ordinance is consistent with the action that you directed staff to take at your council meeting of June 7th, 2016. Basically, what this ordinance does is it eliminates the Community Services Commission that this council had created several years ago, and it creates the Library and Community Services Board. Just some of the highlights in the ordinance, and which obviously you have as part of the staff report, is that this new board will consist of 5 voting members, and it would also include 2 advisory non-voting members as part of this new board. Your initial voting members will consist of Mr. David Tyler and Mr. Adrian Perez, which are currently library board members. Their term expires on June 30th of 2017, which once those terms expires, then you can appoint 2 new members. Each member will serve a 3-year period. And basically, again, the ordinance is just creating this new board. If there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those.
Mr. Mayor, I know I originally voted no. I was hopeful to see the 2 boards stay separate, but I know that there's been much effort on the part of staff and also Mr. Silva in ensuring that there is a well-balanced group of folks, and I am in support of this ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. Mr. Silva?
Marcella, so it's a 7-member board, 5 voting members, 2 ex officios.
Non-voting.
Right? Non-voting, yes, ex officios. So, and then we are maintaining 2 current members of the library board.
That's correct.
Taylor and Perez. So then we would be appointing 5 new members,
5
including
members.
the 2 ex officios.
No, 3 and 2 ex officios.
Yeah, right, including
Yes.
the
You're right.
2
I'm
ex
sorry.
officios.
Yes.
And the 5 people coming in will serve
3 years.
3-year terms.
That's correct.
By straw.
Wouldn't it be better?
They'll do a straw, there's a process we already have established where as you appoint, there'll be, somebody gets a 1-year term, some people
Okay.
get a 2-year term, and then, am I correct?
Yes.
2 and 3 or something like that?
Yeah, the advisory members serve
Okay, that's what I wanted.
The non-voting serve
a
2-year.
2-year term.
Correct.
And the others serve a 3-year term, which, after discussion, was created to create a stagger in the terms.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
That's
It
difficult.
wasn't a 1-year term, it's a 2 and a 3.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay. And I believe the 2 members that are existing have 2 years left on their current term, right? Is that?
Basically 1 year.
1 year?
Their term expires on June 30th of 2017.
Okay.
About 10 months.
So 1 more year.
Okay. All right. Mr. Garcia, any questions?
No questions.
All right. I want to commend staff. I know it's been a long road. I think much input and much discussion. And hopefully we'll move forward and we'll come together with a great board and have some good activities for the city. So look for motion to introduce ordinance 16-09, ordinance of the City Council of the City of El Centro repealing and readopting in its entirety Article 2 of Chapter 19 of the El Centro Municipal Code regarding the Library and Community Services Board, waive reading and approve as first reading and authorize the city clerk to place on next agenda for second reading and adoption. We have a motion by Garcia, second by Silva. Please ballot. Passes 4-0 with 1 absent. Thank you, Marcel. Okay. Under new business, item number 15, we have approval of First Amendment to Master Management Agreement by and between the City of El Centro on behalf of the El Centro Regional Medical Center and Regents of the University of California on behalf of UC San Diego Health Systems and School of Medicine. And I believe, Mr. Silver, you're going to present?
Yes, as you know, the hospital just recently hired a new chief executive officer, and when the hospital board recruited for this position, it was identified as someone that would be working for UCSD. And the reason why we did that is because we felt that by associating the hospital with UCSD and having that even closer relationship through the CEO, that would increase the quantity and quality of applicants that wanted to become our next CEO. And that did happen. I have to say that we interviewed some really outstanding candidates, including the candidate that was hired, Dr. Adolf Edward. So Dr. Edward is officially an employee of UCSD, but he also responds to our hospital board. So there's no loss of accountability with Mr. Edwards. So in order to compensate Mr. Edwards, this item will amend the agreement so that the El Centro Hospital reimburses the university for his salary and benefits.
Okay.
And that's really all there is. There is no fiscal impact on the hospital, on the city. I know that Betsy and the hospital's attorney worked closely on ensuring that the cities is protected and that the language is adequate to ensure that there is no impact on the city. And so I'm recommending, somebody already beat me to it, that we do this.
Okay, so approval of Resolution 16-60, approving the First Amendment to Master Management Agreement by and between City of El Centro on behalf of the El Centro Regional Medical Center and the Regents of University of California on behalf of the UC San Diego Health System and School of Medicine. Motion by Cardenas, second by Garcia. Please ballot. Passes 4-0 with one absent. Okay. Moving on to item number 16, our pump station. Number 2, property acquisition. Mr. Terry Hagan.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. The blue star there shows the future location of the pump station number 2. The green star shows the existing location at Imperial and I-8, and with the new interchange coming in a couple of years, we're going to have to move that. So it's moved down over to LaBerchery and Wake Avenue. This is the redirection of the line looking west at off of the future Imperial Avenue Street and Wake Avenue. And so on September 6th, I'll be bringing back the plans and specs, and you'll see this, probably some of these photos again, but this is how it's being redirected there west. And then that's the site there at the corner, northeast corner of LaBerchery and Wake. And then the force main from the pump station will go north on the west side of LaBerchery and under the freeway. This shows a drawing of the pump station and the, I think it's 0.78 acres in the lower right-hand corner there. This shows the temporary construction easement that were used when we construct the pump station and the force main. And this is the final easement for the force main. The land purchase will be completed by the middle of September, and as I mentioned earlier, I'll bring back the plans and specs for the pump station on September 6th. We predict a council award November 1st, to start construction December 15th, and complete the project by May 31st of next year. The land purchase and easements is $43,300. The future construction of the pump station 2 will be approximately $2.4 million. And the funding sources are the wastewater bond fund, and then Caltrans has committed $800,000 for the relocation of the pump station. Any questions?
Are there any questions?
Okay. Pretty straightforward.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no questions, we'll look to approve Resolution 16-61. Resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro approving the acquisition of property associated with Pump Station Number 2 relocation project. Motion by Garcia, second by Silva. Please ballot. Passes 4-0 with one absent. Okay. Item number 17, discussion and any necessary action regarding the appointment of voting delegates and alternates for League of Cities Annual Conference, October 5th through 7th of October. Is council, anybody planning on going?
I'm going.
Mr. Silver, you're going. Mr. Garcia, are you looking to go?
Is it the
Walker
5th
is
through
expected.
October 5th through the 7th.
Ms. Walker is expected.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I did get a message from Cheryl that she will be in attendance and has offered to be either a delegate or an alternate, whichever we decide that we need her for. Mr. Silva, do you have any desire to be the delegate?
I'll be the alternate. I can be the alternate.
I can attend.
You can attend? Okay.
Attend.
All right. Diane, what's our, when is registration for this?
It's done, it's now.
It's now.
Yeah,
You're gonna
you
get a
might not be
hotel,
able to
get
get a
your
hotel
hotel.
if you haven't registered yet.
Okay. All right, so why don't we do, we will have Cheryl as the designee. Mr. Silva, you can take the alternate spot. Mr. Garcia, you have, you would like to also go, so we need to have you get arrangements. And I don't believe I will attend, but I'll let you know for sure tomorrow, but I don't believe so.
Okay,
Plus,
please, yeah.
and I think we're tight on budget anyway, so if we got 3 going, then I'll probably not go. So, so just for the record, we'll have Cheryl
Mayor.
as the delegate, Mr. Silva as the alternate, okay? All right. Is there a
Mayor
reason why
Jackson.
we have the item from closed session?
Oh, I'm sorry?
Is there a reason why we have item from closed session? Is that just
No, that was just in anticipation of something coming out.
Gotcha, okay.
Can we get a vote on that, though?
Do we need, okay. We have a motion. Motion by Garcia, second by Silva. His ballot. Do we need to do anything regarding Mr. Cardenas? He stepped out.
Let me make him absent. Can you mark?
Can I hit
absent?
abstain?
Yeah, can you, yeah. Or absent, is there abstain?
No, there's abstain. Does that work?
I'd have to re-vote. You can put abstain.
You have to do it.
Okay, let me,
He marked it as abstain, so we have 3 to 0 with 1 abstention, 1 absent.
okay.
Or for the record, 2 absent? I
You
don't
go
know
dead.
how we want to do that. Okay. Okay. Department report on the National Youth, is there anything that needs to be said about that?
Information.
That's just an information? Oh, there's a presentation on that? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, actually, Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a brief presentation on a program that through our Parks and Recreation, we have actually established, and it's been in existence for many years, but the program has been dormant basically due to limited funding that, we have had in the past couple of years. We have managed with partnership, and Imperial County Probation Chief has been sitting here very patiently because he's obviously one of the many partners that we have that's supporting this National Youth Project using mini bikes program. Earlier in this meeting was pointed out how the importance and value that our youth brings to the community. Well, this is another program where we do see the positive impact of having this type of activity for our youth here in the community. So this is just a brief presentation on what the National Youth Project using mini bikes is. And I'm actually making the presentation on behalf of Pat. She's been working with this program for many, many years. She is ill and she couldn't be here tonight, but I am very pleased to provide this presentation to you. Just a brief history on the program. It actually began in 1969. It was through the National YMCA in Los Angeles, California, where this started. It's a program that's supported by the American Honda company. They've donated bikes throughout this program. And it was funded, and it's been funded by the Department of Justice. Also in 1993, NIPM actually became an independent nonprofit public benefit corporation, and that's how it's currently running. And it's also supported through the Robert F. Kennedy Children's Action Corporation. There's currently 34 programs that are in existence throughout the United States, with 3 being based in California, 1 being in the city of El Centro, and the other 2 being based in Los Angeles and Sacramento. Basically, what is the mission of NIPM? It's basically to target at-risk youth, and it's an opportunity to really help them develop self-esteem, strong values, and a sense of responsibility using the mini bike as a motivational tool for them to basically have good behavior and also have academic achievements. The benefits that we see with the youth that participate in this program is basically it's a physical and a mental reward to them. It helps in the prevention of destructive behavior. We have partnered with as I pointed out, with the Imperial County Probation Department and also the Imperial Valley Regional Occupational Program, which is one of our recent partners, and they're very excited to work with us. As a matter of fact, one of the activities that we're planning with the youth that are participating in this program is to go out and clean our community in terms of graffiti and also cleaning up certain sites with some of the issues obviously that we're facing. So we're very excited about this partnership. It's been proven that, participants in this program, it helps them improve their behavior at home, at school, and obviously in their community. So there's many, many benefits to the youth that are participating. Right now we have 12 youth that are participating in this program.
That's me.
The ages that we target is basically 10 through 17. The program consists of providing safety motorcycle lessons to all participants. The youth that participates are assigned to certified instructors. We recently did a certification of 5 instructors. They actually came down to our city to certify 5 individuals, and which is a major part and important aspect of this program.
Just a footnote on that, Ms. Piedra. I'm in the picture there.
Oh, you are? Okay, that's right. Yes, you are. Yes, we did have a workshop that we actually held. Again, it was the certification that we did, and it was very hands-on. They did motorcycle repair. They did, different training. So it was a full week of really intense training for our individuals that we certified. In essence, what are some of the sessions, some of the lessons they are trained in desert survival, cooking skills, fishing, hiking, community projects, and education as far as our environment. So it's very, very good and strong program that we have. They also assist them with homework and tutorial services. Again, you're trying to achieve and improve, again, their academics and also work with their self-esteem. Some of the local and national partners that we have, of course, the City of El Centro through Parks and Recreation. The city, has provided funding to try to have the program remain active. Also, Imperial County Probation. I have to indicate that in June, the Board of Supervisors approved $15,000 through a grant that is called the Youthful Offender Block Grant, and we were awarded $15,000 to support this program. So we're very, very pleased by that and the fact that they embrace this program. The El Centro Police Department is also supportive of this. Coin Power Sports, which is a local business that helps, and we actually are talking about maybe some even some training that we could possibly do for some of these youth that are participating in this program that perhaps could seek some type of job training opportunities. So we're very excited about that potential. BLM, then NOC, which provides actually the training for NIPM, and then of course IBRP, which is one of our recent partners that we have. And we're also outreaching to the school districts to provide referrals, and of course the American Honda Motor Company. There's a website and there's a Facebook page as well. So we're very excited about what we're doing with this program. We do have the Imperial County Probation Chief here, and I'm going to allow him a few minutes to speak on this program, since they're a very strong supporter of it. Chief?
I just thought because he was a new resident of El Centro, he was a concerned citizen, he wanted to see what we did.
I'm representing a lot of different interests here this evening as a resident new homeowner in the city of El Centro. Certainly appreciate all the efforts of the council and the Recreation Department and our Police Department. And hopefully this is the first of many partnerships to come because we're all about at probation partnering with other entities to improve public safety and provide opportunities for at-risk youth. And this is a program that has certainly demonstrated across the country some really positive results in terms of reducing juvenile delinquency and dealing with at-risk kids. So we're very proud to have, through the Youthful Offender Block Grant and the state, actually written the grant, and we're the ones that monitor and facilitate the activities of the grant in partnership with the city. We're very happy to be on board with this, and we're looking forward to a very productive relationship with the city of El Centro. Hopefully some of our staff at the probation department will serve as mentors and volunteers in the NIPM program, and we'll certainly be providing referrals for at-risk youth that come in contact with the probation department, and again, partnering with our chief, who's another strong supporter of programs like this. We look forward to this opportunity.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Chief.
Just had a quick comment, Chief. I just can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming here this evening. I know we had a pretty long agenda, and to have you kind of hang out, but it really shows a lot of character in terms of you being here and giving just letting us know how important this program is. So again, I just want to say I appreciate you being here this evening and sharing and coming before us this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and it's a privilege to be here tonight.
Thank you, Chief. Any other comments?
Just a question. I'm not sure if it's for you, Chief, or Marcella, but first of all, I can see the value in how this is going to help our young people in our community. But you mentioned, Marcella, that ROP helps out with the recruitment and the mentoring. What criteria is used ultimately to select our youth that gets to participate?
Basically, IVROP, and again, this is a new partnership that we have established with IVROP. They have a program where they're working with at-risk youth, and this is one of the programs that they're, as part of many other options that they have for the participants, this is one option for those maybe young men or women that may be interested or inclined to participate in such a program. It provides them an option to be participants in this.
And I just wanted to share, Mr. Mayor, that I did participate in one of the events that they had, or one of the training sessions, and it was really neat to see them go through it. And then also, this is really a testament to Marcella and Pat, the relationship that they have with them, that they were able to have a train-the-trainer event, and they were able to bring these folks from the East Coast to come down and train, to train our folks. And that's kind of unheard of with this program, but that's the kind of relationship that they have with these folks. So again, as being a newer council member, I didn't know this program existed, and being able to participate and see the graduation ceremony behind it was huge. And then to see that the relationship that she had built with these folks is incredible. And this is kind of what differentiates our rec program from anyone else, is these types of activities. So great job, and thanks again, Chief.
May I just add that Pat sits as the chair of our county's Juvenile Justice Commission, so she's a person who wears a lot of hats, and she's been very supportive of our efforts. There's a lot of interplay between one of your recreation program managers in our department, and we appreciate that as well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on, we've got informational items, nothing for successor or housing. Chief, did you want to speak on public comment on the other issue we talked about, or are you going to wait for that later time?
I'd like to come back and provide some more detailed information on the partnership that we are developing with the city and with the police department in terms of putting juvenile work crews out in the community. Now, this is a countywide project, but there's certainly going to be a focus in El Centro where we're all aware of the issues with graffiti, quality of life. And so by September, we hope to have these crews operating. We're working very closely with the police department. Mayor Jackson has attended some of our development meetings, and we're looking forward to coming back and giving you much more information, and hopefully getting this program underway in the next month or so.
Great. And when you are ready for that, work with Diane, and let's get you on as in the front end of our agenda, so you can have a scheduled public comment rather than wait until 10 o'clock at night when nobody's here. So
absolutely. But again, it's worth the wait to be able to talk about these kind of partnering opportunities.
It's an exciting time, and I think it's going to be great for not only El Centro, but for our entire community down here in Imperial County. So I'm glad to see that's moving forward. And thank you, Chief. I know you've been putting a lot of time in on this too, as well as some of our other staff. So looking forward to it. And Mr. Cardenas has also attended a couple of those meetings too. So.
He has indeed, and so have some of the officers in the police department. We're grateful for everybody's effort. We know it's taken some time. We had to change some job descriptions. There were some things that had to happen at the county level with risk management, but we're good to go now, and we're really looking forward to it.
Good. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, task force and mayor and council member reports, we'll combine them. You want to start this time? Nope? Okay, we'll start this time. That's good. Mr. Stowe.
I've given the council a couple of save the dates, and one of those save the dates is September 24th. That's the grito, as well as a reception that is being hosted by the Mexican consulate. I found out that the consulate is planning to include within that reception the awarding of another Oatly to an Imperial Valley resident, and who I know who it is, but I'm not at liberty to say yet. But as you recall, the Oatly is an award that I received 3 years ago, and is the highest distinction given by the Mexican government for individuals living abroad who have a positive impact on the life of Latinos in the United States. So it's a very special award. I was very honored by the Mexican government to give me that. And there's another recipient of the Oatly that is going to be part of the September 24th reception with the Mexican consulate. I really hope that the fellow council members put that on the agenda and that you join me for that, because I think it's going to be an even a more special event.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, just real briefly, attended several events. Number one, attended the Spread the Love first year anniversary, and it was a real nice event. I attended that with you, and I appreciate you addressing the folks there, and you did a really good job, and just appreciative of their work with our homeless population. Also want to thank staff for their help with getting the old post office ready for that event and helping them out. So attended that. Also attended the American Legion installation of officers along with our mayor. Very good event, and being able to work with some of the folks down there as well. So I do appreciate it. Also attended the end of the summer reading program with Miss Piedra. Incredible event. They had the Chinese, I guess that dance, the dragons. It was awesome. I think over 200 kids participated. 6-week program. We even had an adult that participated in the summer reading program. Just excellent work on behalf of Parks, Recs, and City Library. Attended the chamber event. Also looking forward, or the Central Chamber meeting. Also looking forward to that town hall meeting. Also want to thank our chief for allowing Commander Sawyer to speak at the Central Kiwanis Club to kind of showcase the database on how to report crimes. It was a very informative meeting. It's probably one of our longest one ever, but it was great. Film Commission, War Dogs. War Dogs is coming out or debuting on August 19th. So a good portion of that was filmed in El Centro.
Are they going to do anything?
We're not going to do anything. Because of the summer, but it is going to be out here, and they just chose, or we chose not to. There's just some cost. I just real briefly want to share a little bit on ICTC. For the first time ever, they're looking at expanding the checkpoint heading north to 2 lanes. It's never been 2 lanes, and I guess there's some congestion. ICTC, especially Mr. Baeza, has been working with the Border Patrol, and they are looking at expanding that. Were you aware that too? Or no, Betsy, you probably travel pretty regularly on that.
It's on 86?
Yeah, in 86. So
Betsy will greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, so they're so they're going to be doing a feasibility study, and I think that is the only single lane checkpoint in the country. And so they're looking at doing a feasibility study, isolating the truck traffic, but there's some really heavy duty talks in regards to expanding that Border Patrol station to 2 lanes. And then also want to thank all the work in regards to the IVT transit. Attended a couple outreaches again. I know that the Parks and Recs opened up the adult center for them. I went ahead and got my IVT card. So I'm an honorary I don't want to say transient, but is that right? No. But
transient.
No, but they did a real good job. I think over 300 people registered, and so I want to thank the city staff for allowing them to use the facilities. And that is it, sir.
All right.
I attended the Chamber of Commerce monthly mixture. It was a very well-attended event at the Coldwell Banker over here in the Valley Plaza. A lot of the usual faces and a lot of new people trying to get out involved. I was very surprised with the level of attendance considering that it was July 21st and about 114 degrees outside, but it was still a very well-attended event.
Good. I also attended the Spread the Love event. I thought it was a nice event. I think anytime an organization like that gets through their first year, that's kind of a high water point to get to. So I think that's good for them. Attended a mayor's luncheon with one of our sponsors for the Imagine Awards. Monday, I think I have another one tomorrow. But I had Imperial Printers on Monday and good lunch with them. Had a good meeting regarding our Veterans Memorial Project. We'll be hearing more about that next Tuesday. But I'm encouraged with the progress that we've made. I can't say enough about our staff that they've really gone out and pushed this thing and really made it happen because it's not been easy. So very much appreciative of that. This morning had our disaster council meeting with all of our department heads and with our police chief and fire chief, which I think went very well. Thank you, Chief Herbert, for facilitating that meeting today. Also this afternoon after closed session had a meeting. Norma, Frank, Terry, Adriana was there. We are on the short list for a major site selection for a potential light manufacturing facility, $430 million $430 million capital project with 450 jobs in the first phase, potential second phase of another 450 jobs. I thought it went pretty well. I thought staff did an excellent job in answering questions. If you've never gone through a site selection process, it's basically everybody at the table from every single agency that could possibly have their finger into this project and just getting 20 question after 20 question and just, getting, bear down onto the project. And really, I'm not sure. I know we'll know soon because their timeline is very aggressive also. They want to be moving towards October. So, but for us to make the short list, we are the only site in California that they're looking at. And the site selectors came out from South Carolina to meet with us today. So I was very, encouraged. I think it went well. So I want to acknowledge our fire department, and I talked to Chief today, this morning about this. Sunday, I was happened to go through I was going through the drive-through at McDonald's on 4th Street and noticed our ladder truck was out there, and the ladder was out, and I thought, oh, what's going on? I'm trying to get an Egg McMuffin. And so as I got closer, I noticed that we had a firefighter up on the top, and they were doing something with a flagpole. So I pulled over and talked to a couple of our firefighters and said, what they were doing. And they had found out that the flagpole, the American flagpole, or the one that they were using for the American flag, the ropes had gotten all tangled up and weren't functioning. And so they took it upon themselves to take an opportunity and make that a training opportunity to utilize the ladder truck and get out there and replace the ropes for them. And then about an hour or two later, I went by and brand new American flag was flying. I thought that was a great use of our resources for training, as well as a great event or a great community service for our fire department. So I want to acknowledge our firefighters and thank you, Chief, for having a good group of guys out there that acknowledge, realize that and they go out there and do it on their own. I asked Chief, I said, if he approved that, and he said, nope, the guy's he didn't even know about it. So I think that even speaks even more volumes about the kind of staff we have working for us. So wanted to publicly acknowledge that. Other than that, that's all I have.
Mr. Mayor, we have a special council meeting on Tuesday. I will not be able to attend, but I believe with the three of you guys, you'll have a quorum and.
Yeah, we'll make sure you're appointed to all kinds of things while you're gone.
That happened to me at the hospital meeting.
That happened to Cheryl too.
All right, nothing else. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Motion, Mayor, I need a motion and a second to go adjourn to.
Continue to the 9th. I'm sorry. Motion by Silva.
Second.
You want to vote? Or
Are we gonna do?
Either
We're gonna
way.
do a voice vote, or do you want us to do it on here?
You can do it on there.
Oh, okay. We have So there's a motion by Garcia, second by Silva. Please ballot. 4-0 with one absent. Thank you.
Thank you.